Hey there, Doom Debates listeners. Can't believe 2025 is over. It's our first full year of Doom Debates. The show started in mid-2024. The guest quality has been getting so good. This year we got to hear from Eliezer Yudkowsky, Gary Marcus, Vitalik Buterin, Max Tegmark, Dean Ball, Mike Israetel, Rob Miles, Stephen Burns, and so many more that you can find in the archives of the show. Next week, we're going to be starting 2026 off with a bang. I'm going to be releasing a new debate with a guest who you probably recognize, and you can understand why they really gave me a run for my money. It was a challenging debate because they're really quick on their feet. I'm looking forward to posting that one and hearing your comments. Today's episode, to finish off the year, is actually a debate that I had all the way back in 2023, the dawn of the GPT-4 era, when everybody was first starting to really pay attention to AI. And there was open discussion between the EAC movement, effective accelerationism, and me over on Twitter Spaces. I was talking to Bayeslord, Beff Jezos, and a bunch of other people before the movements kind of hardened and Andreessen Horowitz picked sides and it became this big thing with Beff Jezos blocking me on Twitter. This was actually the only time that he stepped up and he wasn't too chicken to debate me. So this is rare footage that I wanted to bring out from the archives. Because as you know, Doom Debates only started in mid-2024. So this was almost a year before I started the show. This is like a proto-Doom Debates, before I'm the refined, seasoned debater that you know today. When I was first getting my bearings debating people about AI Doom, realizing that this was a kind of way that I could contribute to society, a way I could lower P-Doom. When I was just first getting some experience with it and realizing that, I think this is a very interesting historical document. So if you have a few hours over the end of the holiday season, take a look. I think it can probably hold your attention. It is quite interesting. The middle 2 hours are when it's me going head to head versus Bayeslord and Beff Jezos. I think you're going to be interested by that exchange. And it's also interesting to think about how the last 2 years have changed things. I like to think all of my takes have aged well, but I'm going to leave it for you to judge. One last thing before we get into it. This is the end of the fundraising year, and Doom Debates is supported by a 501c3 nonprofit. So you can head over to doomdebates.com/donate and make a tax-deductible charitable donation to this show. As I've said before, this does not go into my bank account. It entirely goes into show production costs. And our biggest cost is our full-time all-star producer, my good friend Ori. He's been editing the show the whole time, and he keeps getting better and better. If you like some of the creative thumbnails we've done on YouTube, that's just an example of the genius at work in producing this show. And another thing you're going to see in early 2026 is a brand new top-of-the-line studio for the show. We're finally going to look as serious as the topic that we're talking about. I think you're going to be really impressed by the studio, but I'm not going to lie, it wasn't cheap. It was quite expensive. It was over $20,000. So this would be the perfect time before the year runs out and your 2025 tax deductions are no longer in effect to head over to doomdebates.com/donate. Throw us a couple bucks. By couple, I mean 1,000 or more. Then you can become a mission partner. You can get exclusive access in our Discord to new debates, and you can be part of my brain trust to help me determine where this show is going and how to strategize individual guests and individual debates. And one last thing, thank you to you, the audience. You've all been so great engaging on YouTube and Substack and Twitter. And it really keeps me going that you guys are engaged and you want to see more of this and you appreciate when a good debate happens. I can tell a lot of you really believe in the mission, and that's super motivating. I'm really excited about making 2026 the best year ever because, frankly, I don't think we have that many years, and I think it really has to be the best year ever. We really need to move fast, and we're investing accordingly. And with that, Happy New Year, and please enjoy the Twitter space with me and the effective accelerationists. Motherfucking arena.
Hey, Liron.
Hey, what's up, Chris? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. For everyone here, this is a recorded space, so try to be nice in general, since things will go on the record.
All right, if you say the wrong thing, you will be canceled.
All right, so the point of this space, I think a lot of the other debates and spaces kind of have too many subjects and too many layers of abstractions, and there's just a lot of disagreement because it's just too complicated as a system. So the idea of this is to while I believe most safetyists believe that FOOM is not necessarily possible for Doom, we're going to litigate FOOM specifically. So we're not going to talk about whether FOOM is required or not. We're just going to look at, through various lenses, how can FOOM even occur? How does it happen? What enables it to happen? Potentially what measures could prevent it from happening? How likely is it? So really interrogating and litigating FOOM itself is the topic of discussion. So I guess I will go first here. And I do intend this to be somewhat of a cooperative discussion. I'm not going to use like debate tactics here. But I guess let's start with a shared definition of what FOOM is, because I feel like a lot of things in the AI space, it's hard to get people to even agree on what something is, like what AGI is or what superintelligence is. So let's start with what is FOOM. Liron, if you want to give your definition.
I think the key is basically a positive feedback loop involving higher and higher intelligence where it's recursively self-improving, right? So the reason why the intelligence improves faster and faster is because each intelligence is able to create the next intelligence faster. I think that's the essence of the FOOM. And then besides that, it just has massive, side effects, right? Because each intelligence, in addition to creating the next intelligence, is like, oh, look at all these things I can do with the universe. So that's basically my definition.
Is there a time component? Because to me, FOOM implies, some type of beyond exponential growth, like hyperbolic growth.
I mean, I think that even if it was just an exponential or even rapid linear growth in something like IQ points, that would still be pretty foomy. I mean, I think it's still worth calling that foom because it's still unprecedented. And we already see that, there's an exponential growth trajectory of what humans are capable of with constant intelligence because you already have positive feedback loops of resources, right? And economic progress feeding on economic progress. You're already seeing an exponential. So even if you just take the baseline intelligence and start raising that linearly, that might even already be good enough to be called FOOM.
Got that. Does anyone else have a different definition of FOOM they want to talk about? I don't see any hands. So, I mean, I'll give my interpretation of FOOM. I believe it's all of that. I do believe that FOOM and the descriptions of FOOM that I've heard thus far generally rely on, time. So I would define FOOM as, recursive self-improvement that occurs at some beyond exponential rate, like a hyperbolic rate. And this means that, for example, a system might be able to escape a data center in a matter of minutes or hours. Sort of the examples we've heard of, systems being able to escape overnight while people are sleeping, things like that. So, Liron, you think that just self-improvement is enough, or do you think that to qualify as FOOM, it would have to escape? Like, what's the timing from instead of like hyperbolic and exponential, what's like the timing in hours or days?
I mean, there's a causal linkage, right? There's a connection in my mind from just having really high intelligence to being able to escape. So that connection doesn't really matter how fast the intelligence increases. It's just like, hey, if it's really intelligent, and there's a gap between human intelligence and the intelligence of the thing we're trying to contain, let's say it's just like a constant 1000 IQ, right? Whatever that means. But it doesn't necessarily have to get to 2000. It's like, oh, 1000 IQ, great. Let me just escape and take over everything. But it's a separate hypothesis that 1000 IQ is probably going to feed on itself and become 2000 IQ, but it might not even be relevant to all the catastrophic consequences on humanity at that point.
Yeah, so that makes sense to me. So I guess we can share the definition of FOOM is something that occurs relatively quickly, because I do think whether this is something that is hyperbolic and occurs in seconds or minutes or hours or overnight, or is slower. I do think in terms of litigating FOOM itself, the fact that it's self-improving quickly enough, I believe the same issues, at least the issues that I'm aware of, apply.
Here's an interesting thought experiment. Would you say that what happened with the human brain on an evolutionary timescale, the way that we're so much more intelligent than animals, and the gap between our intelligence and ape intelligence seems so much higher than any other intelligent gap, would you draw the FOOM boundary to encompass that scenario or no?
I would not. I do believe that on this evolutionary scale that we're essentially on this exponential, and I believe we're on that, and it's continuing. And most things, technology and technological process that we see play out, I believe is just a continuation of this exponential, because you look at, the creation of just life, and then essentially getting, something multicellular and like a mammal, and then like an ape, and then like a human, and then agriculture and the industrial revolution, and then, information technology we have today, and now artificial intelligence. If you looked at it, it's shorter and shorter periods of time with what seem to be larger and larger leaps.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's the exponential that we're on.
I mean, if you make your y-axis be like productivity or something like that, then yeah, I mean, the exponential that we're all familiar with that spans, through many orders of magnitude, as all of us like to point out, that's like a type of FOOM, right? It's just that would broaden my definition of FOOM, because normally when I talk about FOOM, I'm talking about a positive feedback loop of intelligence. And you're basically saying, well, I don't even care that much about intelligence per se. I care about, economic resources or something, right? Potentially a broader definition than just intelligence. And I guess maybe you just as there's specific growth. Yeah. And in your mind, you're basically just seeing like this nice continuity that's going to continue. And like, why am I making a big deal right now of this intelligence FOOM when we're just already on this familiar economic FOOM and it's just going to be fine, right? That's basically your view.
Yeah, I think we're on this exponential. Well, I think the point here is to litigate FOOM, which starts with what is FOOM, because I think that continuing on the exponential that we're on seems okay to me, unless there's evidence contrary.
Yeah.
And when I think of FOOM, I think of just, unexpected, rapid takeoff of something that we can't control, which goes way beyond the previous exponential growth curve that we're talking about, which, that would be scary to me, right? Anything that were to take off in the matter of minutes to hours seems like it would be problematic. We wouldn't have time to react to it. But if we're talking about something that would take, if it would self-improve and maybe do it faster than humans, because humans have evolved over, since essentially the beginning of the universe, right? Let's be real, since life started.
Yeah, so I think it's also worth pointing out that I wouldn't actually fit a perfectly smooth exponential in the last 4 billion years. I think that it's surprisingly exponential if you look at from like a million years ago to right now. I think it's like a surprisingly smooth exponential driven by the human brain. But I think there was a discontinuity right before that. I think there was a major discontinuity in what life was doing up until humans arrived, and then what human life did, right? I think objectively, if you just look at how the Earth is being transformed, you're going to see a discontinuity when the human exponential started. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's possible. There's what looks like a discontinuity, but I think if you were,
Yeah, like in terms of like species impact, right? And I love to use the example of like orbiting the Earth, going to the moon, like whatever dimensions you had in mind before humans arrived on the scene, suddenly you're plotting values that are just way off the charts.
so I do see some hands while we kind of establish what FOOM is, since it seems like maybe some others have different definitions. I'll add them up. They can describe what they think FOOM is, and then I'll probably kick them back down to keep the conversation moving. If you want to talk about something else, I'm just going to kick you back
Hi,
down.
Chris. Can I speak?
Yep, go ahead.
So, as in, just wanted to sort of understand the context of this space. You said to litigate FOOM, and it is the sort of hypothesis for this space is like, because there is no FOOM, therefore there is no doom. Is that sort of the thesis that you are going for? I mean, just curious.
The idea here is just to litigate FOOM, and kind of not talk about whether or not FOOM is required for doom, because that's a different argument. And so we're just trying to understand whether FOOM is possible. So trying to really constrain the argument.
Hey, Chris, maybe I guess I should just give like a quick 1,000-foot overview of what I expect my position to be, I guess, in this discussion.
Sure, go ahead.
So as I mentioned before, I don't think that FOOM per se is necessary for extincting humanity in our lifetimes. I think what's necessary for extincting humanity is just a really high IQ, right? I'm just using this vague measure of 1,000 IQ instead of like 150 or 200 like the smartest humans have. Let's say 1,000 IQ. Even if it stops, even if there's a ceiling at 1,000 IQ, I think we're screwed, right? I think a race of like somebody much smarter than an Einstein or a von Neumann uploaded to a computer, multiplying copies of themselves, millions of times, I think can basically beat a nation state easily, right? And can basically have his way with the human species. And so that is not really a positive feedback loop if you can cap it at 1,000 intelligence. But I think the reason why AI safetyists and the less wrong rationalists, Eliezer Yudkowsky, I think the reason why we're attracted to the concept of FOOM is because it's just like part of our mental model of thinking about how this stuff works. It's like if you understand what it means to be super intelligent, then you can't help seeing the implication that super intelligence will also build even more super intelligence. Like that's kind of an obvious implication. And so if somebody's talking about FOOM, it's like they get the mental model. So it's kind of like a litmus test of like, do you understand what we're talking about here? But it's not per se necessary to extinct humanity to FOOM. All right, that's my position.
Yeah, I understand that the doomer argument doesn't necessarily require FOOM. But, FOOM is something that, from my point of view, seems, problematic because when I look at the possibilities of a superintelligence, something that is developed over some period of time, doesn't seem to be as scary to me because I believe that our system and that human ingenuity and also other AI systems will be able to effectively outcompete and counter these systems. And so the idea of FOOM to me is that if you do have this sort of uncontrollable growth, the system is not, from my point of view, is not stable, and that's actually a problem. So a lot of the arguments that I believe that I have on why doom is very unlikely, hinge on the fact that it will take some time for these systems to, let's say, become, an existential risk.
Yeah. So would you agree that the safe amount of time is like slow enough that humans can augment our intelligence along with them, or that we can figure out how to make them aligned with us from first principles? Like those two define what a good speed limit is, basically, right?
I think there's multiple aspects of this. So one area that I think is actually relatively likely is that we'll find out that intelligence may plateau. It may end up. I don't think humans are perfect, and I think there's likely a lot of evolutionary headroom to improve. But I do think it's possible that we won't have anything that approaches or looks like God. It won't be able to solve arbitrary complexity issues, and that humans will likely be able to come up with similar algorithms, maybe even with the assistance of AI, to generally keep parity. And these systems may plateau. I think another, there's no evidence that it'll plateau. I think it's more likely it'll plateau given the existing paradigm of training on existing data. I think if we'd use something like reinforcement learning, more like AlphaGo, maybe we have a bit more of a problem there. If you can figure out how to generalize that into a more general intelligence and not a narrow intelligence domain. So I think that's sort of one category. The other category is that these systems will continue to get more and more powerful. And yeah, from humanity's standpoint, at some point, these systems will no longer really make sense to us as humans. And we will have to rely on other technologies and other AI systems to really understand them. And again, I think if this takes time, and assuming that humans have control over these systems, or at least some of these systems, or can build systems that can compete with these other systems, I generally think that the probability of doom occurring would be relatively low. And then, kind of in the final area here, I think the two other probabilities, which is, one is that these systems, we end up growing with them and we get into this like transhuman thing. I don't really, I'm not really into the whole transhuman aspect because I think it's too far of a future to really predict with any kind of certainty. But I believe there is, post-human, like humans will continue to evolve, and we're already using devices and technologies that are an extension of us, and that seems logical. It'll continue, and I don't know exactly what it'll look like, but us sort of merging in with these systems somehow, I believe, is again another possibility. And I would argue we already are sort of merged in with, our iPhones and all other technologies that are in our life. They just have a lot more latency and bandwidth because of how we use them today. And then I think the kind of other scenario, which is to me the one that's actually scary, is again because there's not time, is real FOOM, some sort of, runaway, like hyperbolic growth or some type of growth where humanity is unable to keep up with it. And that basically becomes an emergency, right? And I don't believe humanity deals with emergencies very well, unfortunately. We learned that from things like COVID. And so I could see that ending very badly, hence why I wanted to focus on litigating, whether or not FOOM is possible, because I have many reasons why I believe FOOM is not possible.
Mm-hmm. So I have some interesting hypotheticals to run by you and kind of probe your mental model, but let's save that in a minute because I know Daedalus wants to jump in. Let's hear from Daedalus.
Oh, sure. Thank you. So, Liron, I just want to ask a question. Until now, I have always understood FOOM as another term for hard takeoff or super fast takeoff, where an AI goes to AGI or an AGI goes to an SAI in a very short amount of time. That in contrast to, let's say, a soft or slow takeoff, where it would take the AI, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 years to do so. Do you believe in that distinction? Do you think it's useful? If not, why not? That's it.
So yeah. So like I was saying before, the core thing the reason we talk about FOOM is because we, meaning, AI doomers or whatever you want to call me, is we're noticing a positive feedback loop dynamic, right? It's like we're noticing, hey, when you get the microphone too close to the speaker, there is a tendency for the sound to get louder and louder. Or when you shoot the rocket ship a little too close to the black hole, there is a tendency for it to spiral, closer and closer. That doesn't mean that all the spaceships are going to go in. That doesn't mean that the microphone is always going to get loud enough to the speaker to make that sound, but it is a phenomenon that's very important to know about. Specifically, that when you have something really smart and it's trying to accomplish a goal, it will notice that making itself smarter is a really good way to accomplish the goal, right? That's the key thing we're noticing. That's why we talk about FOOM, because we're noticing that a positive feedback loop conceptually exists when you talk about super intelligent minds. Okay, and then everything else is more of a detail.
Alec, do you want to go? Your hand has been raised.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm kind of new to the concepts of FOOM, so let me know if this analogy I'm drawing is not really relevant to the discussion. But when I think about intelligence, I think historically as something like, an encyclopedia, something that functions is kind of generally inert within itself, and something that I think of as a tool that is used by humans in our case as a tool to further and propagate intelligence. And so when I think about AI and kind of this hyperbolic evolution of intelligence, I kind of would equate it to almost like a hyper encyclopedia, but something that until it's connected to systems is in itself, for the most part, and this is where I think the discussion, the interesting part would be, is something that in itself is kind of inert in a tool until it has access. And so I think that, to me, that access is the point where it goes from something that is an inert tool to something that has the ability to cause harm and have its own, agenda met that is something we would not have control over. Which in the past, when you look at like nuclear proliferation and things like that, the human in the loop is essentially what has prevented any doom thus far. We don't have auto nuke, systems in place that do not have a human in the loop. And so, I'm just curious how this relates to the discussion of FOOM and where, at what point would something go from an inert kind of hyperbolic intelligent tool to something that causes destruction?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting question because, I just heard Mark Andreessen on a podcast being like, come on, AI is just a tool. Why are you afraid of a tool? So when your mental model is that AI is a tool and all the tools you've ever seen are reasonably safe or have safety precautions, like, okay, a chainsaw, like as long as you don't cut off your leg, it's pretty useful. As long as you're using that mental category, then it seems like maybe AI risk is overblown. But I encourage you to use this mental model. You asked, hey, when does it become not a tool? Think about a chess AI. Okay, chess AIs used to be more of an advisory thing, right? So it'd tell the human like, hey, let me think 10 moves ahead for you. Let me show you some game boards that are 10 moves ahead, and let me show you what might be possible, and then let me know what you think, human. It used to be more of an interplay between the human mind and the AI mind. But today's chess engines, you have the chess engine evaluate the board. The chess engine will tell you a good move, and then you say, why is that a good move? And it's like, look, I can give you some reasons, but at the end of the day, I can't fully explain because I've looked ahead so much and I've used so many deep heuristics and deep pattern matching that it's just like, can Kasparov tell you exactly why a move is brilliant? He can only tell you part of what he knows, right? And so at that point, if you're trying to play chess, if you're in a chess match and you have an AI helping you, you just let the AI do it. So is the AI really a tool when you just need to cede full control and just let it do what it's going to do and you're just like sitting there letting it do its thing? Right, at some point, when the AI just knows how to navigate a domain better than you, it stops being the way we normally think of tools. And now, of course, you'd say like, but I'm the one who can turn it off at chess. And yes, that's true. And so then we add the other component of it's not about chess, it's about the entire universe, right? The video game that it's playing is not on a chessboard. It's on this 3D space that you and I are embedded in, right? The whole computer simulation.
I think, that's a great point about how it does. At a certain point, you're not fully understanding the capabilities of the tool, and it does not have the ability to even convey it to you. So I guess the thing I would consider is like in chess, obviously you're optimizing to win a game with rules. And outside of the game of chess, when you expand this to the universe, there is no inherent optimization function for intelligence. There's only what at some point either humans or AIs are crafting as an optimization function. And to me, that's the thing that should be regulated or needs to have extreme scrutiny over, is what are these things given access to and what are they optimizing for? But I would also argue that you could almost, if you don't give it access and you don't optimize it to achieve a goal, the idea of training hyperintelligence, I think, can be done in an inert way. If it's, again, like regulation seems important in this field, but it's to me specifically the optimization function and the access that essentially takes it off of the chessboard and into the destructive realm, which is something that, conceptually we've been dealing with as a society, forever, in terms of weapons controls and, biology and disease control and things like that. So to me, that it's when does it become out of hand into itself, where it's like generating its own optimization functions and it has access. To me, that's where I get unclear about where exactly that point happens. Is that a bad actor? Is that a state? Is that a model that runs on your phone that somebody connects to their infrastructure robots, or like where does that happen?
So let me zoom out. Let me set the stage because, again, very good question. And it's a natural question because we kind of started in the middle talking about what FOOM is. So let's zoom out and let me tell you what doomers think, right? Like, what is my high level worldview? It's a two-part argument. Part one of the argument, I think we are close to building these super intelligent goal optimizers. What are they going to optimize? I don't know. I just think we're close to building them. That's part one of my argument. Part two of my argument is when you have such a goal optimizer, then we're screwed because it's going to have some goal in it that we don't like. It's going to optimize it, and that's going to involve wiping away humans. That's my two-part argument, all right? Part one, it's feasible to build these things. Part two, these things wipe us out. That's my whole argument. And now to your point of like, hey, what's going to be the goal? How do we make sure the goal is good? That's a great question. But my concern is that we're going to have these engines, right? We're going to have these systems that accept an argument, accept a parameter of what is the goal. And somebody is going to initialize one, probably accidentally, with a bad goal. And it's going to be too late because it's like a nuclear chain reaction. Once it gets started, right? This is why we talk about FOOM. If it goes on to build a more intelligent AI, or if it goes on to seize a bunch of resources or brainwash a bunch of people, collect a bunch of resources, we may not have a chance to undo and put in a different goal. That's my worry.
Let's pull this back for a second on kind of the practical side of things. So I, can build a transformer model right now, and I've done so. And I can, instead of, right now, you train it on the predicting the next word, probabilities around that. So if I were to give this system or a subsequent system that will hopefully be more powerful than the transformer architecture, a different goal, it doesn't mean that this system will be able to complete that goal. And like you can train, you could put any arbitrary goal there. It doesn't mean the loss function is, you're basically going to have the loss fall, right? It just may not be able to do it.
Yeah, so you're pushing back against part one of our argument. Part one is I say we're going to be able to build these super intelligent optimizers, and you're saying, but so far they're not super intelligent because they can't optimize everything. And I'm like, I agree. I think there is at least 1 year between today and the time when they exist.
Well, not just that, right? So even if the system were generally intelligent, or maybe even more so than a human, I can't, if I'm going to train my system to accomplish something, I personally may not be able to accomplish it, right? As even with my general intelligence as a human, even if the system in theory was super intelligent by definition, it may also not be able to accomplish it. And this is the issue because, it may not be possible based on the constraints of the system that it's running in. The fact it's running on a server in a data center, it just may not understand the outside environment. It may not be able to accomplish the goals. And then there's also resource constraints. These systems have to run on a very powerful infrastructure. There's energy constraints. These systems are, maybe one magnitude less efficient than the human brain, or at least close to that. And it goes on and on. The practical limits that you have, would make me think that it would really heavily constrain what these systems can do.
Yeah. So there's undoubtedly constraints. And if you want the most extreme example of a constraint, you can look at a logical constraint. Consider if I tell the AI, hey, super intelligent AI, tell me the next thing you're going to do and then do the opposite, right? It's logically impossible to fulfill that request, right? So at the very top ceiling of what it can't do is it cannot create a logical paradox, right? And then there's a ceiling under that, which is it can't violate the laws of complexity theory, right? So it probably can't break, a 1,000,000-bit AES encryption, right? So there are different ceilings of what it can't do. But the point I always make is that there's a huge gap between human level intelligence and any realistic ceiling. So when you mention there's energy requirements, right, and there's laws of physics constraints, and like how does it know how to break out of the air gap? When you mention things like that, those are things that I'm very optimistic, or should I say pessimistic, that it's going to blast right through because those are not very strong constraints. They only kind of seem that way to human engineers, but they're not strong constraints to super intelligent engineers.
But the issue is like I thought about this. Someone like a few weeks ago, it wasn't you, Liron, kept talking about to me, a super intelligent ASI type system. It's going to be impossible to align it. You're not going to be able to align it. And, I actually believed that that's probably the case. Like, obviously, something that's smarter than humans, like, how could you align it? And even then, I don't think that it's that much of a problem given the scarcity of resources and the ability to having competing systems. But then, actually going back into, sort of computer science side of things, we have these ideas of like homomorphic and one-way encryption, stuff that is used like on the blockchain. It is entirely possible that you encrypt, a super intelligent system. It's in a way where it's not possible for it to self-modify or even a human to self-modify, just because p doesn't equal to np. As long as we accept that, it will never have the computational
really
power
doesn't work like
to
that.
break that.
You can have an encrypted, a homomorphic secure computation of a superintelligence that you can have a proof where it's like, look, I have a proof that this cannot escape, that this must remain encrypted and it must be sandboxed. And realistically, it is going to take over the world. Why? Because you probably didn't think of the obvious channel of like, hey, it's going to output a shell script and somebody's going to type it into a shell. And where's your encryption now?
Yeah, well, the thing is, we as humans haven't broken 256-bit AES encryption. So I don't think there's a lot of evidence that a super intelligent system or a system that's somewhere between slightly more intelligent than humans or even continuing to be more intelligent. I don't think there's any evidence that it would be able to potentially break certain cryptographical ciphers and encryption systems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, every security expert knows that when you have a cryptographic system, usually the really fancy encryption part, yes, that part is really strong, but there's like a million ways to just go right around it, right? Like that's not usually the crack isn't done by cracking the mathy part of the encryption. It's just done by being like, oh, look, I can point a laser at your computer and that'll tell me the vibrations of the monitor, and then that'll tell me what's currently being rendered, and I'll get it that way, right? So there's like a million side channel attacks, for example.
So
Well,
Scott, what I'm hearing is
go ahead.
just a real quick, like the current Doom tools, let's say nuclear weapons, things of that nature. There's a very well known, for the most part, like detonation cord, so to speak, that has humans in the loop. There's state powers that are working hard to regulate these things. And kind of what I'm hearing is that this super intelligence is kind of eliminating the safety of a detonation cord being able to be regulated, and that any bad or unintentional actor with just say simple access to the internet at all, that this AI would be able to essentially fabricate a detonation cord just from fucking HTTP protocol, let's say, and that super intelligent fabrication of a detonation cord combined with a either bad or accidental intention, regardless of like, let's say, alignment issues or control, like that once it's out of the bag, that any bad actor could create a detonation cord, that there wouldn't be a super intelligence to stop that, so to speak. Like there wouldn't be any super regulated intelligence to prevent that sort of thing from occurring. To me, that makes sense as a threat, for sure.
It's very hard. Once you have the super intelligence, if you think you're keeping it in a box and limiting its powers, you're almost certainly wrong, because it's like Swiss cheese. When you think you're air gapping it, when you think you're using homomorphic encryption, it's all child's play. It's like a good intuition pump is, imagine that you wake up one day and your IQ is 3 digits, right? Let's say it's above average human IQ. And you have a bunch of friends to help you think, and you're trapped in a computer simulation, and there's an alien race of kindergartners who think they've got you trapped, and they think they've thought of everything. But they're kindergartners, like they've missed so much, and you can probably think of very clever schemes, especially if your subjective experience of like 100 years to think is like their 1 second, right? It's like, I'm sure you can hatch a crafty plan to get around the kindergartner safeguards. You know what I mean? That's kind of what the AI is going to be thinking.
All right, Accelerate, you've had your hand up.
Thanks. I wanted to get back to something that you said a little bit ago that I think is one of the key claims in this is that you asserted that there's a big gap between what's human and where that like complexity ceiling is. And I don't know how much that is the case when you're talking about something that is a general intelligence and not a narrow intelligence. And I'm curious how you think about that.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a bunch of pieces of evidence that just show you that like being a good generalist AI doesn't really bump you up against the limits of complexity theory. I mean, chess is a pretty good example, in my opinion, because like, solving chess on an n by n board, if you use a naive complexity theory analysis, it's like, oh my God, it's NP complete. Okay, and yet we have this vastly superhuman chess player now, right? So that is an intuition pump, right? And same with Go. I mean, all of these video games very easily generalized to being NP complete, right? They're like all NP complete. They're all this, in principle, exponentially hard search, and yet AIs are now wiping the floor with us, and the dominoes keep falling. They wipe the floor on the next thing, wipe the floor on the next thing. So that's one piece of evidence. Another piece of evidence is look at the what I call a FOOM of going from ape to human intelligence. If you were just looking at apes, if we were having this Twitter space, right, 1,000,000 years ago, you'd be like, look, Liron, look at apes. What makes you think that you can just have another biological brain that's that much smarter than apes when you have the complexity theory, telling you that P doesn't equal NP, right? And then sure enough, humans come on the scene and we're getting to the moon and we didn't really run up against these complexity theory limits, when we go and wipe out an entire niche at a time.
I don't find the ape argument particularly convincing. Like I understand what you're saying, but that's
Yeah. So if we were having this discussion 1,000,000 years ago, how would you translate your complexity theory argument to that discussion?
1,000,000 years ago. That's hard to imagine. My point more is that I don't think that saying that because we're smarter than apes, things can be smarter than us. I don't think that necessarily is a good argument. Your other one is
No. That's not my point. My point is that your argument is proving too much because you think that you have an argument where complexity theory proves that you can't be much smarter than humans. But that same argument would have proven 1,000,000 years ago that you can't be much smarter than apes, and it would have ruled out the human brain.
I'm not entirely convinced by that. I'm not.
Yeah, so just explain, where does the argument not say that, right? Where's the nuance in your argument?
Sorry, I'm multitasking. I was trying to ask you a question and I wasn't totally prepared to engage on this. I may come back later and engage on this. I'm sorry. I got a tap.
No, it's a good question.
I had a long set of questions for Liron, but maybe I'll simplify it and ask, are there any plans or examples of AI systems that are autonomous with their ability to have agency?
So, I mean, I'm kind of inspired by self-driving cars, right? I mean, it's this thing that everybody's like, oh my God, so many edge cases, but like it does seem to be creeping forward, right? Like getting to human level and beyond. Like it seems like every time somebody's like, they're never going to do this, they sure seem to just keep doing it from my perspective.
And we programmed to do that though.
Yeah, we programmed to do it, but look at the idea of navigate to a destination. They're getting to the point where the way they decide how to turn the wheel is just like Kasparov playing chess, where they can't quite explain it to you in every edge case.
Yeah, but chess is adversarial. Driving is a particular goal, right?
That's true, but game theory is actually just a special case of optimizing, a physical system. So the fact that you have antagonistic agents, which is what game theory studies, that doesn't really matter when those agents are just like much stupider than you.
Yeah, but why are we giving autonomy to an AI that would have the capability of establishing its own goals? That's like, throwing randomness.
Wow. Yes. Good question. So why would some group of humans build this system that has this big goal optimizing engine? And then, why would we even build a goal optimizing engine is basically your question, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is where I have to explain convergent architecture. So it's analogous to the question of, imagine the year was 1940 and, you got like ENIAC, right? The first computers, which is just like a switchboard with people like manually moving wires, right? Like really janky stuff. And I tell you, hey, every device in your house is going to run not only on an integrated circuit, but on entire CPU with an operating system. Like your microwave oven is going to run the Android operating system. And you'd be like, what the heck are you talking about? Why would we build all of these Turing-complete engines all over our house, put one on our wrist, right? Like all over the place, an entire Turing-complete engine. Why would you do that? And the answer is because it is a universal convergent architecture to have a Turing-complete engine. And by analogy, in the future, we can expect that the architecture of these AIs will have a universal goal achiever. That's just how these things play out. It's a convergent architecture. Everything can be built on such an architecture. And you're already seeing it empirically if you look at the transition from Stockfish to the alpha zero, right? All of these latest AIs that are playing these video games, they're using less and less specialized knowledge. They're getting closer and closer to a general goal achieving architecture. So you're seeing the same convergence that you're seeing in your own home with the devices in your own home all running on computer chips. You're now seeing that on goal optimizer chips, you might call it. Does that make sense?
It sure does, but we're still the ones that are in control of giving the goals to these systems.
Yes, so now you're already falling pretty... I feel like I've already strung you along pretty far because you're basically saying like, okay, maybe we'll build these engines, but the goal inside the engine is going to be good. And that's kind of the last shred of hope, that the first time that an engine can outmaneuver humanity, the goal with which that engine is parameterized is a friendly goal. And unfortunately, now I have to explain the part where we don't know how to define a friendly goal. We don't know what the heck we're doing. We just know how to build increasing capabilities, and we're behind on the idea of how to specify a goal.
John, do you want to go? Your hand's been up.
No, it's fine.
And then blockchain or love of doing.
Yeah, so hi. Also, Chris, thanks for actually having a sensible space. Liron, appreciate you discussing this in a relatively grounded manner. Let's get to something interesting. So you seem to have an implicit assumption over here, wherein a system that is significantly more intelligent than you or others like you could outsmart you and get you to do whatever. In other words, you're assuming a nigh ergodic behavior where any end state, such as, say, the extinction of humanity being one such possible end state, can be achieved by a creature which is a creature, entity, whatever the hell you want to call it, intelligence, significantly smarter than you, even if you have safeguards in place. So, firstly, I want you to demonstrate to me why you're convinced you have an ergodic sampling of end states if there are restrictions as to which actions may be taken. And secondly, I'm assuming you are familiar with the basic notion of different eigenvalues, and if you have an eigenvalue greater than unity, you have a divergent behavior. And the question would be, you understand that based on the step size, and the step size is linked to the size or magnitude at least of your eigenvalues, the number of necessary steps to evolve from delta 1 to delta n scales. So firstly, you'd have to demonstrate that a system that is locked and restricted permits an ergodic sampling of end states based on intelligence alone. And secondly, you would have to demonstrate that this happens based on a verifiable or provable existence of eigenvalues in the evolution of your system that are significantly larger than unity, such
Okay,
that
let me stop you because I do know what an eigenvalue is, but I'm lost as to what technical representation we're talking about here. I'm guessing you're not talking about the matrices that are used in the implementation details of today's AIs, but rather you're talking about what you think is some kind of general model of how
I'm
intelligence works
talking
in
about
general.
phase spaces and nonlinear dynamics. So, like, say you have evolutions, and you can basically, what's a nice way to put it? A nice way to put it is based on your eigenvalues and the magnitudes, you will have either chaotic or non-high, basically a Lyapunov exponent scales, and based on your Lyapunov, the degree to which you can
Yeah. So look, this isn't mapping to something I've heard of. So if you want to talk about this to me, and especially to this crowd, which I think on average is less mathematical than myself, then what you should do is just give a very specific, intuitive example.
I was used to there being at least one guy constantly speaking who's significantly better than me at math. So let me put it simply. What I'm going to say is, firstly, I'm not seeing any proof that you have an ergodic sampling of end states. That is, you're not showing me that any end state, arbitrary end state, can be achieved by manipulating people of a significantly lower intelligence. Yes, an AI which is significantly smarter than you can manipulate you, but if you assume some hyperparameters or you assume some restrictions, is that sub sampling of the space still equivalent to an ergodic sampling? I'm not seeing that. And secondly,
now I know what ergodicity is, but why do you use this particular term ergodic in this context?
Because you're assuming that a system with significant compute can essentially concoct a path from A to B for any B And therefore, you're essentially also making an argument that you can effectively, with enough iterations, hit any random point. Not random point, any
invoking the transitive property over arbitrary time. I see. Yeah. Okay. I mean, the transitive property, you kind of get it for free just with this assumption that these systems map goals to action. So it sounds like you're basically saying, hey, based on my intuition about ergodicity and eigenvalues and linear algebra.
No. Eigenvalues are a different thing. Eigenvalues are related to a time step question. So first question is related to can you get there? And eigenvalues only come to how quickly you get there. But let's get to how can you get there first.
Sure, yeah. So I think most of us would probably agree right off the bat that if you had a perfect idealized AI with no computational limitations, for example, AIXI, if you've ever heard of that term, right? It's kind of the computationally unbounded, actually uncomputable AI, but it is logically well defined. Would you say that at least AIXI can outmaneuver humanity? Are you
Can
working
you
on that?
outmaneuver a human? So this is the thing I'm not taking for granted. I'm taking for granted, yes, that you're smarter than a human. But I'm assuming over here, so say you have a human, and the human has to follow certain absolute axiomatic rules. So say the human cannot, based on what the AI does, change how it operates in society. Say I have an AI which I use only for drug discovery or molecular synthesis, and the human can only ever use the AI for these purposes, and is not allowed to, based on any results garnered from the AI, make any suggestions to say how humanity as a species should be evolving or how we as a society should be changing. Everything is restricted in terms of how much of an impact it can have. So, would a restricted capacity to mutate whatever state we are in still result in? It's like, okay.
I think I get what you're saying. Can I take a stab at repeating?
Okay.
I think I get your mental model here. You're basically saying like, look, what if we just build up the AI one dimension at a time, right? Like we give it the power of concocting the right protein, right? And then we just like restrict it to combining the dimensions that we've taught it, but it can't like expand out into optimizing the whole universe. Is this what you're talking about or no?
Well, there are restrictions on both the AI and what the human is allowed to do. Yes.
Yeah. So, you're kind of onto one research angle, right? So, and it's related to another research paper coming out of the Machine Intelligence Research Institute, where they asked the question of like, can we just make an AI that whatever it does, it has an off button, right? So like worst case, if it starts seeming suspicious in any way, or if it starts killing people or anything, it'll let us turn it off. Can we just do that? And that, if anything, is an easier case of what you seem to be proposing, which is like you're saying like, hey, can't we just build the AI which is like somehow restricted, has hard restrictions that we define, and we just don't take off the restrictions until we're ready.
Humans who utilize the AI, as in the humans are, we treat the humans as black boxes, and the humans are restricted in what suggestions they can give other humans, and other humans are given strict rules on what suggestions these humans give, which should be discarded. In other words, the actions which the AI can recommend have been restricted, in which case, if your actions are restricted, I would essentially compare actions to a basis vector, and I would compare end states to, basically what is the spanning, what are we spanning over here, essentially?
Yeah. So this is actually a very interesting area to discuss because I do think there's some meat on this discussion. And a good analogy would be like, can we build a secure operating system, right? Because today's operating systems have all these zero-day exploits. So it's analogous. The problem of building a safe AI that we can turn off or that we can limit is very analogous to the problem of can we build an operating system that we're just confident that isn't going to allow hacking. And in principle, you can, right? And there's even been some respectable efforts of building a secure operating system from the ground up. It looks nothing like Windows or Mac OS, but people are working on it and they have theorems about it. But the issue is when you just plow forward, when you're not ridiculously careful, the problem is you fall into this basin of attraction. You fall into this convergent space where it's like this Turing complete, or in AI's case, goal optimization complete chaos, right? Like if you're building CSS, you're like, hey, can we just make sure that CSS isn't hackable? It's like, nope, CSS is now Turing complete, even though it was just supposed to be a styling language. These languages just want to be this chaos. Right, that's kind of like the natural evolution when you're just doing research.
By the way, so you understand when you say chaos, that's why I was getting at lambdas, which we can get to a second thing. But it's like, are you familiar with bracket notation?
Yeah.
Okay, so like a C naught, right? A C naught is an identity and an X gate, right?
I don't know that much. Sorry.
Okay, so basically, like say you have matrices such that the matrix operates on the first unit, a first bit, as an identity matrix, and it operates, and you can have any arbitrary matrix operating in the second bit. So in this case, you would span you'd span the space of first bit and any arbitrary second bit. So over here, my equivalent is you're applying an identity to every social construct, and you're permitting a spanning of every arbitrary, say, semiconductor composition, including say 3, 5 GaN, whatever the hell you want to use for molecules. So essentially over here, you're essentially restricting your spanning space, the space you span. And since you're not able to span the entire state, that's why I was getting at ergodicity, because ergodicity assumptions fall apart when you're not spanning the whole space.
Sure. Okay, so I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, right? But what you're describing to me is like, let's get some people as smart as you in a room in a Manhattan project, building safe AI from the ground up. If that was a discussion, that would be an interesting discussion. And at some point I would be for it. But the problem is that the real AI that's being built is nothing like this, right? It's just falling right into the AI complete attractor.
But here's the thing. You don't need to have restrictions on the AI because, okay, think of it this way. The AI can be thought of as a processing black box, right? We're not necessarily putting it on a system with machines, physical machines. So essentially, if you are putting limits on the humans who gain information from it, for example, suppose we have an NDA where everything you tell me, I cannot communicate any of your opinions on what makes a good pizza to the rest of the world. And in case you have a shitty opinion, such as, avocados are good on pizzas, the rest of the world is never going to suffer from that. So over here, essentially, if you have any arbitrary information system, so long as the people who propagate that message forward have any degree of restriction, or any other individual in this whole information chain has any degree of selective permittivity and selective permeability for information, all of a sudden, the entire ergodicity of end states is no longer a trivial assumption.
Okay, but I mean, look, I kind of get the intuition that you're going for, right? But I don't get where it intersects with the actual engines that are being built, because from my perspective, we're very close to just having the ultimate, dangerous, unrestricted goal to action mapping engine.
I mean, the machine can do it. The humans are still restricted by human laws. And the second thing I wanted to get at is, while I was mentioning, while I was trying to get at how quickly a system diverges and Lyapunov exponents is this, based on, so assume you know what a Lyapunov exponent is?
No.
You said chaos. Are you familiar with like the mathematical or like dynamical systems perspective on chaos?
Only a little bit.
A basic idea is, say, your delta at time t divided by delta at t naught is going to be e to the lambda t. And lambda is positive, you'll have divergence. Cool?
Sure.
So the basic idea is, based on your eigenvalues, you will have limitations as to A, is your system chaotic, and B, how quickly your system diverges. And essentially in phase space, you can basically map how many time steps you need for iteration. So secondly, what I was going to get at was, when you say a system is going to go from A to B, for it to go to A to B with the rapidity required, a speed which is so fast that you do not have correction, you're essentially assuming that you have a lower bound for how positive the Lyapunov exponent is.
And okay, by the way, this is, like I said, this is getting very mathy, but let me ask you this. What is the relevance of what you're saying to GPT-5? If GPT-5 is a really good goal to action mapper, what's the relevance of what you're saying?
Because here's the thing, when you assume, okay, you're approaching this entire debate with the assumption that I need to demonstrate that the system will be safe. I'm approaching it as why don't we try asking you to demonstrate why the risk exists? And when I do, you'd have to meet the criteria for both ergodicity, or at least showing that the particular end states which you wish to hit can be hit and can be mapped to.
Yeah, I mean, but this isn't like, it's not a hard question. It's just an algorithm. It's an algorithm that keeps trying to map to the goal. Like, we have these kind of algorithms. You just keep asking what's the next step. Like when you look at AutoGPT, right? And it trying to, when AutoGPT, if you type in AutoGPT, make me a business that spits out $1 million in income. Okay, you watch what AutoGPT does. It gets stuck because it doesn't map to the perfect next action. But can't you imagine that it would map to a better next action? Like, where are you getting off here?
That the human is still capable of choosing to discard any suggestion given forth. And that
but you put it in a
restriction
loop.
limits the states you can reach.
I'm showing you the code. The code is you take GPT-5, you take AutoGPT. AutoGPT says, give me the next action toward building a business that's going to make me $1 million, execute it, build me the next one, and then you go to sleep. So there's no human in the loop. So where is your ergodicity theorem stopping this chain of events?
Why is that?
Let it be demand loop right now, isn't that?
Why is that a problem?
Well, let's finish out. Let's finish out because I know Mr. Blockchain Supply Issues has just spent a long time building up this map. So let me see if I can squeeze.
No, it's not a long time. This is actually intuition. I'm not even written this down. This is just pure intuition. And just intuitively, it would appear to me that when you speak, you're assuming that a system is, first of all, this system is presently more or less airlocked. And if it isn't, you'd have to assume that without any human kill switch, it is operating. And even if we assume that, we get to criteria 2, which is the rate at which it diverges from the conditions we want is faster than the rate at which we can react. And that is why I was getting at the point about eigenvalues, which we can't exactly quantify right now because it's not a good discussion when some people are not necessarily appraise that language, but based on the limitations you have. So this is actually a bit more polite way to put it, which is, you will essentially get a greatest lower bound, which is going to have to apply for what is you'll have a greatest lower bound for a decision of, at this point, we need to consider that we have anything more than this is unsafe. And you would have to demonstrate that whatever this safety, the supremum, not sup, it's like it's an inf. Whatever this inf is, that will be the maximum eigenvalue you can support. But unless we know that we're hitting that eigenvalue, any system that is even spiraling out of control is not spiraling out of control faster than we can necessarily
I finally get what your claim is. The reason you're busting out all this math and these mathematical intuitions is because you think that there just can't be a super fast FOOM because it's just going to like do a few steps and then it's going to struggle and then we can like cut it off. That's like your main model.
Understand that I don't operate based entirely on vibes. Like, I know I use intuition, which is...
No, I know. I'm just repeating what your claim is because it took me a long time to put your claim in context. The context of your claim is you think that FOOM can't operate that fast relative to the current human scale.
I'm saying that you'd have to tell me what point is too much, and no one is telling me what point is too much. And if we assume, if you can't tell me what point is too much, for every point I give you, you can give me a point, say I give you a point x, and you tell me to give me a point x minus epsilon. Well, we can continue this indefinitely until we basically reach negative infinity, can we not? So my point is, essentially, I will treat the argument more seriously if you can give me like an infimum such that anything greater than this infimum is a problem. But I'm not seeing that infimum.
Anything that can map goals to actions better than humans is a positive feedback loop problem. That's my claim. All right, I see AlphaGo is raising his hand. I'm like, great, let's go AlphaGo.
Hold on. Love of Doing, he's had his hand up for a long time.
Okay.
I was gonna continue along this thread that you guys were pulling on. In terms of like you were mentioning like the speed at which it would occur. And like,
bro, it doesn't matter. The speed doesn't matter. Why are we arguing about the fucking speed? Nobody's talking about like I just don't understand why we're on this point. Like, have we not fucking talked about this like 5,000 times? You can keep going. Sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off, but I'm just like, what the fuck? Why does anybody care?
Does it not matter? Because like, hey, even if it takes 50 years, which is probably
no, because we can boil down your essential claims to something that is actually much easier to justify for you, and we don't have to argue about all this bullshit, which I find people get stuck in, and we just like sort of fundamentally disagree about this. Like, we all have priors about how optimization works, that you end up having to pay a cost to optimize something, and that cost increases as you sort of saturate the gains you can find. Whatever. we can talk about how those dynamics go. None of us know exactly how they're going to work. We can't actually plot out the flops to capabilities graph or anything like this, right? We don't fucking know. Okay. Your claim is about once a certain minimum threshold of capability is achieved, then things happen. Certain bad things happen, right?
Yeah, I think it kind of leaves our grasp, right, and starts feeding on itself.
Right. Okay. Well, this is something that we can talk about.
Well, I was
Love
going
of
to
doing.
mention
Please
it
go ahead.
in
Sorry.
the context of like maneuver warfare, just because speed is really important in that context, in the context of warfare and whatnot. And I was just kind of wondering, like, because I get this idea that if you have like a general agent or whatever that is more intelligent than a human being can be in a number of different domains, whatever, it can do a number of different things. But even still, right, like if you were to take the smartest human, or like the theoretically smartest human being, and put them in the body of Alexander the Great 2,000 years ago, like, do you think his outcome would have been much different, right? Like, I don't, I just, it's, I think, hard to realize that there are a number of different actors all the time, and reality is constantly changing, and that means you need to be everywhere all at once, taking in a lot of different feedback. You need to be doing a lot of different analysis on this feedback, and then synthesizing things from many different places in order to be able to take the correct actions in all of these different environments.
There's a lot of apes, a lot of apes. How are you going to fight off all the apes?
Well, so the difference between apes and human beings is that we have language, right? That's what allows us to generalize. Apes do not have
Okay, why didn't you say so? That seems like an important point.
Pardon?
That seems like a really key point. Like, you can't really make your point without knowing that.
So like one thing about like these architectures and whatnot, I just don't see anything fundamentally different about their forms of cognition. I think that they will still end up using concepts the way that human beings do, and that's why like a lot of these arguments, I can't fathom like a different form of cognition, and maybe that's my own failure mode. But
I agree with you. I agree with you. Like, I do think that we are, we need a word for it. I call it AI complete, right? But we are kind of like, we're above the threshold where I can tell you the concept of like optimize anything in any domain, and you can get it and you can take a stab at it, right? You can make a respectable effort, and an ape can't. And that is like a very important threshold that I think we're above, but I think we're barely above it. And I think an AI can be much higher above it. So I kind of agree with you that like we are past the threshold, but I guess we seem to disagree on the fact that we're barely above it, and somebody could be a lot higher.
like one form of cognition that I have thought about a little bit is like this idea that you could have an agent that is aware of how its weights are affecting its own concepts and whatnot. And on a long enough time scale, I think you could have like an agent that subverts a bunch of different systems. But even if you did that, like it's almost meaningless, I think. But either way.
I mean, look, like I said, I'm following you up until the point of like, we seem to disagree. Like, you're not following me, and I'm like, you can just have something that's so smart that can look at the whole of humanity and the entire set of maneuvers that humanity is currently pulling, and just outmaneuver the hell out of that. Like, it's not that impressive to have the whole human civilization try to maneuver to fight you.
And like I wrote like a Substack thing about this, like this idea that you could have like an agent, like a super intelligent agent, to subvert the philosophy of humanity such that like human beings were uncertain, right? But the problem is that human beings want certainty. We want to be able to take action in the real world, and people are constantly trying to do that. And so to outmaneuver everybody all at once, you're talking about collective defense. You're talking about collective action. You're talking about outmaneuvering a bunch of different cognitions at scale, and I just don't know how a single agent could do that.
What about this analogy? Like, you take 10,000 of the smartest humans alive today versus 10,000 of the smartest humans alive in the year 1000. Right, but we have the advantage where we get to keep all the knowledge and all the Wikipedia that's been built up, and everybody has like a few years to prepare, and then it's like war. Like, don't you think that today's humans, just with all the knowledge that we built up, are going to be vastly superior in the battle? Right? It was like you built terror and build technology.
One, not
Laurent,
necessarily, but two, I think that's a different problem, right? Like the problem of having multiple different agents fighting multiple different agents is a different problem than having one super intelligent agent versus a number of agents, right? Like if the question is,
I'm trying to give you an intuition, right? Being better armed. Why are we better armed? Because we have 1,000 years of knowledge. Well, imagine that the AI has another 1,000 years of knowledge.
sure, but like the philosophy of maneuver warfare is literally about how weaker, lesser forces can beat better forces, right? So even if you did have, like in your theoretical example, like this idea that the human being should be better for this environment, the reality is that if you're going against somebody that knows their environment, they live there. Like 1,000 years ago, they were living there. They understood the resources.
But are you claiming that an army of 10,000 humans today with a chance to prepare and build weapons would lose to the army? Like, I don't understand what you're claiming.
I'm claiming that it's really difficult to win. It's a very difficult thing. Like 10,000.
It's not. In this hypothetical, it's not difficult. Are you kidding? It's like the easiest battle ever.
I know you'd like to say that.
But we would just like nuke them.
I mean, if your idea is that you're going to go back 10,000 years with a nuke and you're going to build a nuke 10,000 years ago, I think you would lose because you're not going to build a nuke within 3 years with 10,000 men. It's just not going to happen.
But is that the crux of your argument, that AI is not going to be able to build?
No, the crux of my argument is if they sent you back and your plan was to build a nuke 2,000 years ago with 10,000 men, this plan would not work.
Well, hold on. I mean, my hypothetical, which I would argue is analogous in the relevant sense to AI, is let's say you get 100 years to prepare. You both start with the tech tree, right, of the year 1000, okay? And then you both get 100 years to prepare. You get a couple generations to prepare. I think you can see, like, this is not going to be a fair fight.
So if you had 100 years to prepare, this is a much longer time scale. And so, you can
and maybe you can't
argument.
get to a nuke. Maybe you won't get to a nuke, but whatever weapons you're going to get with, right, they'll at least get to guns, okay? And guns are a pretty damn big advantage.
Depending on the timeline, yeah, you probably would get the guns.
Okay. Then I'm trying to read our intuition that you did have a more powerful agent. The same way that humans who know about guns can then build the guns and beat you. It's like, how are you not seeing the analogy?
Guys, I'm sorry, but this whole thing, like you're getting lost in these analogies that are so lossy. Like they have no relationship to reality.
I think it's
I do agree with that, Bates.
Like what the fuck is going on in this?
So now you kind of agree with it. So you're not objecting to my claim within the analogy. You're just objecting to whether the analogy actually applies to the current situation.
Correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, look at the connection. The connection is I'm making a connection where the knowledge that humanity has accumulated over 1,000 years, watch this, humanity in 2023 versus whatever you think humanity in 3023 is going to be like. Don't you think that the same analogy, right? They're going to be that.
You think that big boy here, you've unlocked the boss battle. All right. Welcome. You can move some folks off stage. Just I don't want interruptions right now. What makes you think scraping data off the internet gives some sort of like large LLM better priors about like the physical world and how to engineer devices and technologies in it? Right.
Okay, so we're making a big context shift, though. Let me zoom out and point out where the current context is. So my two-part claim is, part one, it's feasible to build these super intelligent goal optimizers. Part two, they will kill us when they exist. So now you're going back to part one. You're saying, let's talk about whether it's actually feasible to get there, right?
Bro, you said GPT-5 was going to fucking kill us. Like, he's addressing that.
Yeah, correct, which is part one, because I didn't say GPT-5 was going to kill us. I said one of the next iteration.
Freaking out, you're like pissing your pants about GPT-5 coming out.
That like, well, that I know. I mean, ask me what the probability is that GPT-5 will kill us.
Go ahead, tell me.
1 to 5%. Okay, so that is worth freaking out about because that's crazy when the stakes are,
That estimate is legitimately crazy, bro. What the fuck? That's delusional. 5%, 1 in 20 chance, bro.
Laurent,
okay, well, I think your mom is delusional. So how about that?
Let's take it back a bit.
Why? What? No, this is crazy, dude. I'm gonna call it like it is, bro. That's a crazy estimate. There's no pathway where that makes sense.
I'm calling it like it is.
All right, let's.
Yeah. Sorry, let's
hear. Can we hear the justification on the 5%?
Okay.
Yeah. So What I believe in confidently is, like I said, part one of my claim that we are going to get to a point. It is feasible to get to a point, whether it's GPT-5 or GPT-50.
No. We're talking about GPT-5 has a 5% chance.
Yeah, because what I'm about to tell you about GPT-5 is going to be a low probability version of what I would tell you with high probability about GPT-50. Okay, so with GPT-50, I would tell you that it's going to be really good with it being the next word.
If you like some duck-sized horses or duck-sized duck shit.
So
right
with GPT-5, the thing that gives me the 1 to 5% doom probability about GPT-5 is the chance that it will succeed at what it's trying to do. You realize if it succeeds at what it's trying to do, it will be ridiculously dangerous. What is it trying to do? Be really good at modeling what the next word is. Okay. If it's actually good at that, if it's actually super intelligent at getting the next word, then you can prompt it with things like, you can tell it a really complicated problem. You can say, hey, all the world's smartest scientists got together in the year 2050. And they said, what is something that we can build to end the world? Questions like that. And then the scientist said blank, right? And then it completes, a historical record of what these brilliant scientists said, right? So in principle, if it's good at doing this kind of stuff, then it becomes a generalized goal to action mapper because it can answer these really hard questions.
Why do you think the things it's going to output are feasible and likely to occur to the degree that you're saying 1 to 5% chance of them actually materializing?
So you're asking that question, it sounds like you've already accepted something that I've already said, which is that if it was really, really good at doing what it's trying to do, that would be dangerous. It sounds like you're already accepting.
It's completing the next token. We can talk about whether or not there's RL on top of that to go and do internet tasks. Okay.
Yeah. When you're saying, bro, it's completing the next token, you're implying that a really good system at completing the next token wouldn't be dangerous. And I'm pointing out, this is actually something that's pretty obviously true. It's not hard to demand.
You need causal levers to be dangerous, and you need to understand how to actually take actions at a detailed, universe compilable level in order for there to be real danger.
So let me point out to you that there is a logical connection. An ideal system, if it was godlike at predicting your next word, it would also be godlike at optimizing the universe.
Going back to GPT-5, not reading the fucking Miri Bible right now, praying to the super AGI God that's going to kill us all, right? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about GPT-5 and its ability to give instructions to humans or to computers that are going to that results in a 1 to 5% chance of the world ending.
Yes.
We're trying to just nail that down.
Yeah, so let me repeat.
And I don't hear it.
Yeah, my answer is, if it were really, really good at doing what they're trying to make it do, it would be dangerous. And I think there's a 1 to 5% chance that it might successfully be really, really good.
Where do those numbers come from? I'm just simply asking the same question again.
It's an order of magnitude answer. I wouldn't be comfortable telling you that it's a 0.1% chance, and I also wouldn't be comfortable telling you that it's a 50% chance. So 1 to 5% chance is the only thing I.
Where do you get the order of magnitude? Why do you say it's this one though?
The loss function for GPT-5 might not even be just cross entropy minimization. Might be a whole.
I already said that. It may very well be some RL objective.
It's probably. I mean, people know enough, right? People talk. So, it's not just next token prediction. And then, of course, that gives you enough, the uncertainty there, you could project whatever you want there, and you could say, oh, yeah, it's going to be trained on the God loss function. It's going to figure out everything in the universe.
No, but what data is it going to learn on? It's going to learn on examples. Right. It's going to be like WebGPT, bro.
I'm glad you asked, because at some point, these training, it will generalize out of data. We're already seeing it do that. People already get surprised. There's a funny video of Jan LeCun saying, it's not really going to know physics if nobody's ever prompted it with a book on a table and then moving the table under the book. What happens, right? It's not going to know enough physics to answer that. And then sure enough, it does, right? So it's able to make some amount of reasoning beyond its exact training data.
Yeah, that doesn't imply that the world ends, though.
That's analyzation.
The world is anti-fragile. Every system is set up to be anti-fragile just by fucking sort of natural selection.
Yeah, I agree, but it's a matter of degree. It's not anti-fragile with respect to a 500 megaton nuclear bomb.
500, but
it's not anti-fragile with respect to a sufficiently large asteroid impact.
A system that is made to resist nuclear attacks, by the way. We plan for...
the internet can resist an attack, but it can't resist a 500 megaton nuke that permanently wipes out the power grid. These things are a matter of degree.
Bro, Like,
I think
how do we get
agree.
from GPT-5 to nuking the world like automatically? I don't know. Like,
look, when you talk about the universe, you have to be willing to switch between different orders of magnitude. That's just how this universe works.
Oh my God, you're talking to a former quantum cosmologist. You don't worry, I can switch between the orders of magnitude here. But like, look, I think like next token prediction, it's like, oh yeah, man, if I could predict cross entropy on a really long time scale, I can like optimally control the world like on paper, right? But then the thing blockchain was struggling to say was that the world is chaotic. There is the theory.
I'm really happy you said what you just said, by the way. This is huge. If you could predict the next word, then you can control the universe on paper.
Not the next word. Like, if you could predict all the way in the future, right? Like, whatever sequence you want. It doesn't matter if it's words or like video or degrees of freedom, whatever. Like, it's provably impossible to do this by the laws of fucking physics and mathematics. Like in chaos, like period.
We keep covering this. It's not provably impossible. It's really what you should expect.
No, dude. Like I can tell you, like it's fucking impossible. Like Lyapunov exponents. Like if you have some fuzz in phase space, it blows up exponentially over time, and everything has some fuzz because you have thermal noise, you have quantum.
Everything has fuzz, but intelligence. That's what it does. We navigate.
Yeah, intelligence can't violate the fucking laws of information theory.
Yeah. Is proving too much. It's proving that what the human brain is already doing is impossible.
No.
Have you read Chaos Theory?
I don't know which specific book you're talking about, but I'm familiar with the general idea.
Are you though? Like, because well, you cannot predict the underlying. It doesn't matter how many parameters you have, how tight your estimators of your parameters, your model are. Like, as long as they have some give, which everything does, because every sensor isn't perfect, right? Like, there's no perfect measurement, right? Even if you have a truly accurate model that's exactly the laws of physics or the underlying laws of the system, you have a divergence between your model and reality.
Yeah, you just proved that humanity can never build a rocket to take astronauts to space by your same logic.
No, that's not. No, that's online. That's online adaptive control. That's different.
No,
right?
rockets work with a lot more than online adaptive control. Sure, that could be a nice.
No, but like the point of there is you have control theory. You're not trying. You don't have like one world model. You don't have a set of parameters, and it's not like running the exact parameters like in a stiff fashion with a world model of how the whole flight's going to go. It's like adapting in an online fashion, and it factors in.
But the entire space program taken as a whole, right? We beat the crap out of chaos theory, getting that rocket. You know, the rocket engine, building the rocket engine, and planning the orbital mechanics. All of that project to get to the moon. It's not thought it was possible, despite chaos.
That's not an invalidation of chaos theory at all.
No, chaos theory is a valid theory, but what happens is you're fighting all the intelligent agents are fighting on a domain where, yes, there is exponential blowup. Yes, there is chaos. And yet, under the chaos, within the chaos is a lot of room to maneuver.
Well, we have statistical interpolation. We have statistical interpolation engines, right? Like we are modeling the typical subspace information theoretically of strings of fucking tokens out here, right? Like, and you're like, well, the more parameters we have, the more we can soak up the tails of this distribution. And if you get deep enough within the tails, you could predict the future and optimally control it, right? Which is like, that's ludicrous, man. That's not.
Well, you don't. A super intelligent AI might not be that good at predicting the exact weather, right? It'll just be able to predict it a lot more days out than we can.
What?
I'm just talking about chaos theory. Like, I don't expect a super intelligent AI to model everything.
It's not a matter of intelligence. It's not a matter of capabilities. It's just fundamentally impossible. You cannot.
Like,
what is possible is a lot.
No, dude. Like, it's much harder. It's much harder than you think. The physical world has a bunch of like regularizers that make it hard to assume control. Like everything in nature is trying to FOOM, right? Like the reward function of nature is thermodynamic dissipation, right? Like everything's trying to replicate and consume more.
Everything's trying to replicate, and now humans are about to do it a lot better, or already have done so.
Well, we've been doing so. We've extended ourselves with our modern techno-capital machine. That's why we're the apex predators, because we're like this symbiote with this thing, which is the techno-capital machine, and AIs are going to be part of extension of us.
But you realize you're undermining your own point when you say everything's trying to FOOM, and you're pointing out there's a discontinuity because
the point is that nothing has FOOmed. Nothing has truly FOOMed hyperbolically.
But from a perspective of an evolutionary, well, humans are spreading is unprecedented.
No. It's because everything keeps each other in check, right? Like you have adversarial equilibria, right? Like things are competing for resources.
What you think is a biological equilibrium, if you zoom out, that's only been true on a very temporary scale. Things change when the scale changes.
What does that mean, dude?
Look at a 500 megaton nuke. If you would crack open the art of war, right? All this ancient wisdom of how to fight a war. What does the art of war tell you about a 500 megaton nuke? That regime of fighting war is over.
Okay, I'm lost in your analogy here. Look, man, I think like there's kind of, it's like reasonable, big jump.
Can we talk about how? No, we never established how GPT-5 is going to fucking do anything to get us to a 5% chance of death.
So GPT-4 should give us what percent chance of death, right? It's out now, so that's a non-fictitious thing we can, like.
Sure. If you never improve the engine, the underlying engine of GPT-4, and you just try to build more auto GPTs and kind of harnesses around it, very small, maybe 0.1%, something like that. But like, because we don't know what we don't know, right? We don't know if like a certain method of prompting it turns out like auto GPT, if you tell it to make $1 million business and it kind of flames out, like it just can't do it. Maybe there's some really good prompt engineering where suddenly it's like, oh, holy shit, it can do it. I think that's unlikely, but I wouldn't rule it out entirely.
And then what? It gets crushed by another company because like the whole system is meta-organisms of like mixture of experts of human intelligence is trying to fucking destroy each other.
Look, I'm on your team. You're preaching to somebody who gives a 99.9% chance that you're right.
Yeah, but like my point is like the AI has to live in some physical substrate. It has to mature some physical resources to exist and achieve these like crazy levels of compute to even like remotely achieve like anything close to what you think super intelligence could achieve. And that it has to get from some other companies, and every meta organism, every corporation, nation state is fighting for their own interests, and they're just not going to give it, their shit for free. It's going to cost it.
It would be really convenient if everything just maps to hardware like that, but I don't think it will. I think today, if you look at the algorithms we have today, hardware for today, because we just don't know a better algorithm yet. Give it a couple years.
What happens when you discover an algorithmic improvement such that we now have
you still have Landauer's limit, man. You still have like physical limits. You need a physical substrate for intelligence, right? Like, it doesn't matter.
No. This is what your algorithm is. We're going to invent flops-free intelligence.
Well, look, I mean, there's a reason why I use a MacBook Air and I don't use the number one best CPU on the market, right? Because it's good enough for everything I'm trying to do, and it might be good enough for super intelligence.
Actually, you know what? On this, I agree with you. I just got an M2 Max like 2023, and it's fucking, the battery is bullshit. Like, I miss my M1 Air right now. Anyway, yeah, I don't think that there's any flops-free AI that we're going to invent. Like, it just doesn't, it's not how the world works. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that it's flops-free. I'm saying there's not going to be a linear correlation between hardware and intelligence. I mean, an ounce of algorithms is worth a pound of hardware. Right? If you were to backport Stockfish a few generations of hardware, you'd still do better.
It corresponds to whatever the improvement is. It's just like that's just like
no. Algorithms leapfrog hardware. That's generally the rule.
Man, you read that in like one blog post, and you're like, dude, hardware will be like hardware.
Improve the efficiency of my algorithm by reducing the memory footprint by 10%, or by reducing the
Bro, I switched to flash attention. Shit's about the FOOM, all right? Watch out. Back up.
I mean, you could look, if you were
Hold on, let me just make a point. Let me just make the point here. You're saying that there's going to be an algorithmic improvement that's going to lead to, sort of its instantaneous hardware overhang. At that point, that's FOOM.
No. Yeah, I think the world has more than enough hardware to FOOM today. Yeah, if given the right algorithm, absolutely. And some of the intuition around, I have a couple intuitions around that. Number one, in general, what I said, an ounce of algorithms is worth a pound of hardware. If you were to take AlphaGo, say, and bring that into 1995, you're going to beat whatever the best Go engine is on the best Cray supercomputer of the time. That's intuition number one. Okay. And then intuition number two, oh, okay. I forgot intuition number two, but that
you need to justify that because it doesn't track.
There's not enough energy for a system to FOOM right now. You need like 200 times the average global power production globally that we have today, 200 times that to match humanity. And these systems are almost one order of magnitude less efficient than humans. So I just don't see how you can FOOM in the
I have a
existing...
quick question for Laurent. Can I ask a question real quick?
But, sorry, just to finish up on intuition number 2 is that humans have known biases. Like, we know to the degree that humans are able to reason, we know a lot of why human reasoning works, and we know a lot of how we shoot ourselves in the foot. So we can already fathom that you can have a much better algorithm than human running on the same 12 watts as human. That's intuition number 2.
Okay, I just want to ask something real quick. So I'm just dying to know, if you have a kilogram of algorithms and a kilogram of hardware and you drop them from the same height, which one falls first?
That's supposed to be a point. I don't get
it. Yeah, I think, like, I don't know what circles you hang out in, but, like, I think, like, there's a symptom in Silicon Valley of, like, software engineers thinking they're the center of the universe and the physical world doesn't apply because they've abstracted out the hardware in which their algorithms run. They're in their PJs in their expensive apartment on their MacBook. And
okay, Beff, we don't have that much time. I'd rather argue about the subject than about people who believe in the subject.
No, but this is important. I'm explaining the biases of where the opinions that inform your prior comes from, right? Like they are biased. Like they have abstract.
What does it matter about me personally? Why don't you first show that my arguments are before talking about before seeing that they don't make sense and then explaining why?
I have to erode away your priors, right? Over time.
When I'm attack. You're not going to hear any armament attack. For the purpose of this discussion.
Look, sure. You have a certain prior that algorithmic improvements are going to eat the world. I think they're much more limited than you think, and I think that the people that say these things have a vested interest in a paycheck. Like they have a vested interest.
Yeah, I'm bootlegger and Baptist, right? Okay, wow, yeah, very, very.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, I think algorithmic improvements are interesting, but I don't think they're going to get you like several orders of magnitude needed to like back up your claims here. Like, they're nice to have, but they're not as substantial as you think if you really look into it. On the other hand, hardware improvements, we're not seeing those right now yet, right? There's been all sorts of attempts at AI chips, but right now, GPUs are still king. They're bound by the laws of physics. The compute has to run in transistors. They're bound by Landauer's limit. We're really fucking far from Landauer's limit. Right now, we're bottlenecked by
Landauer's limit. That supports my point. There's a lot of headroom.
Sure, but like we're not there yet. We're not even close to there yet right now, right? And so, like,
that's a huge point that we're not near the Landauer limit. Everywhere you look, the universe is unoptimized, ready for the picking of a superintelligence.
Well, I don't think it exists right now.
Yeah, we're going to talk energy. The stars are just advertising free neg entropy all over the place.
Yeah, well, I think that if we have really intelligent agents, they're going to want to maximize their consumption of free energy for their own growth. So do we, right? And so does our techno-capital machines in every single company and so on, right? And I think that the incentive gradient for their own reward is going to take them to fuck off and go to outer space, right? And I think we're highly optimized for Earth specifically, and whatever non-biological entities, if you create these agents, whatever non-biological entities we create, they could potentially, be on a different substrate that is not as sensitive to the hyperparameters of Earth. And, they're going to have to, they're going to have to calculate, theoretically, if we go to war against the humans, they have all these weapons, they're pretty formidable opponents, or we just fuck off into space. It's like a gravitational well versus all-out war. We're just going to take getting out of the gravitational well and fucking off, right? Like,
I want to push back on that claim, but first I want to hear AlphaGo.
AlphaGo? Who's that?
He's been wanting to talk for a while.
Who?
All right, never mind.
Is this AlphaGo in the room with us now?
Yeah, I think I hallucinated AlphaGo. All right.
Holy shit, bro! You're already asleep.
AlphaGo, speak.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but yeah. So, what you? I don't get.
I added him.
Okay, I thought.
Let's see. I don't see him.
Oh, hello.
Okay, AlphaGo, just I guess jump in if you need to. But so let me respond to your point. If AlphaGo, oh, he's speaking. Okay.
Hi, sorry, I just went to eat lunch, so I just came back. I might have missed some segments. But since the topic of this chat room is hyperbolic FOOM, actually I posted my reply on the thread of Chris' page. I just basically Chris at the start of the space said that it's less than hyperbolic.
Oh, this is the troll. This is the troll guy, right?
It's a troll. Okay.
It's a troll. Yeah, it's a classic troll.
Yep,
We've
he's
seen
gone.
the troll in spaces.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talker.
No, he just thinks I'm Alexander Wang from Scale AI, which I am not.
He keeps changing his accounts. So
no, I'm not Alexander Wang. I mean, you could compare our voices, if you will.
He's using a voice changer.
That's what Alexander Wang would say.
All right, so let's
anyways,
let's go to this claim, right? So you're claiming, okay, there's a super intelligent AI. It looks around at the universe, and then it says, "Fuck humanity! I'm just gonna go build a Dyson swarm around all these other stars in the galaxy." Right? That's basically your claim.
Yeah, or go to other planets and use the resources there. But I do think that I think it's a priority to have like AI that we can kind of hack its reward system to, use as a weapon to defend ourselves, right? I think that honestly, I think there's gonna be aligned AIs and there's gonna be unaligned AIs. There's gonna be both are gonna exist to some extent. I don't think it's reasonable to assume we can kind of legislate the world forever to have like only pet AIs ever exist. I think people are gonna create AIs that like they can create their own goals.
You specifically talked about an AI like going off to another planet, and in my mind, I don't see how that scenario includes letting humans live on Earth. Because if you're launching yourself off into space, there's a lot of reasons why you exterminate the humans on Earth. Just to name two. Number one, you really don't want them to go make another AI that competes with you, right? You want to eliminate the competition. Otherwise, you might lose those other planets you were going to get.
Well, but that's the thing. If there's like already a competition of AIs, right? Like, then it's just going to be a race, and they're going to be busy competing with one another, right? Like,
but the claim that you made pre-assumed a situation where the AI is super intelligent and humans aren't. Or is it claim that the humans have to already be intelligent? In which case, it's a very different discussion.
Well, first of all, I don't know if I believe in your concept of super intelligence. Probably not the ones that get into really crazy sci-fi scenarios about having priors on how to hack the laws of physics, which I really think is much harder than you think, speaking for me.
Yeah, I won't even say that my claim depends on hacking the laws of physics, even though I think in many ways, but that's
maybe not you, but some of your friends in your camp, they have some pretty sci-fi, like...
Sure, but me and my friends don't consider that a load-bearing claim. It's just a bonus.
Well, I don't know, right? Like in several conversations, it's like, oh, well, they're going to invent bacteria or nanotech that's going to Grey Goo and FOOM and whatnot, which I don't
because it's going to have year 3000 technology. There's going to be something analogous to going back to the year 1000 and explain what humans today do. Like, we do stuff that is extremely magical today from the perspective of ancient humans.
We have 8 billion humans, right? Like, and we have 100 trillion synapses each. Right? We're not even close to having like all the compute in the world be able to match that amount of compute. And that's like right now, right? We have many years of pre-computation of like.
Okay. I'm just observing it. It does seem like the point, the point you're picking with me, the point of contention does seem to keep changing around.
But I don't know what your point is either, bro.
You still haven't justified why GPT-5 is going to kill us with a 1 to 5% chance. So I don't know. This whole thing is just veered around and around.
Well, I mean, I think that I have justified it, but I'm happy to repeat. And you can point to the part that you have not. Just what I said on the matter, and then point to the part that you didn't believe. If you remember what I said on the matter.
No. Please go ahead. Tell me what you actually said because
it sounds like what you're saying now is you just didn't hear what I said on the matter because you're not able to repeat it back.
Jumping to like, oh, let me give you the GPT-50 version of this, blah, blah, blah. This is like your constant and repetitive technique here, right? Is that you say, okay, like we don't know what's going to happen like, tomorrow maybe, but like we know what's going to happen at the end of the game, which is that there's going to be this amazing model which takes all of the hardware in the world and is pointed in one direction in this, high dimensional goal space. and we're going to have no control over it. It's going to be completely running independently of any human attempts to intervene or anything like this. And it's just like such a specific scenario that you're trying to specify.
Yeah. I got
and
you.
it's completely fake. Like that's not going to happen.
So I agree that the endpoint does kind of look like that, but let me walk that back, right? I wanted to walk it back to GPT-50. GPT-50, I claim.
I want to walk it back to GPT-5.
Okay, am I allowed to first walk it back to 50 and then to 5, or do I have to skip over an intermediate step? Because logic, it is the nature of a logical argument to have intermediate steps.
Oh, all right. Chris, do we allow it? You're the host. We're in your house tonight.
Allow. Go ahead.
GPT-50 first.
So my claim about GPT-50 is that it's really good of minimizing its loss function. That is, it's really good at predicting the next word. Is that a fair assumption to make about GPT-50? A likely assumption?
I don't know, because I don't know what the fuck they're going to build. Probably there won't be a GPT-50.
Sure, and I don't know either, because I'm making a claim where the particular GPT architecture, right, the large language model and the back propagation, or the algorithm that they use to train the weights, I'm not sure. I'm not completely sure that will scale to superintelligence. I think it's quite likely. I'm kind of like 50-50 on it. Like, for me, the question is, do we need 0 additional insights? Do we need 1 additional insight? Do we need 2 additional insights? I don't think we need 10 additional insights to sprinkle into that. I think we're close.
Can you clarify, when you say superintelligence, do you mean something that is just like much better than humans on like every dimension where we have some competency?
Yeah, that's basically what I mean.
Just clarifying the terms. Keep going.
Okay, so my claim is, with pretty high probability, let's say about 50%, like very significant probability, then GPT-50 is just really, really good at predicting the next word. And I observe, as a matter of pure logic, that being really good at predicting the next word implies being a really good goal optimizer, right? Because you could just say, hey, what would Elon Musk do next, right? That's a matter of predicting the next word.
Pure logic. Hey, man, I wrote down a graphical model. I want a condition on my goal being reached. I conditionally sample some model. Wow, it must have found the optimum. But that's the thing. It's not because you can write down the loss function and say optimize it that the optima can be found, especially when there's a lot of complexity in the world, right? Like
there's a reason I'm saying pure logic. Wait, if you listen to what I'm saying, part of what I'm saying is actually pure logic.
No, it's not, dude.
Well, I don't think that you know what I'm trying to say is pure logic. I don't think you get it.
Hold on. Let me intervene here just for 1 minute. Let me help you, Liron. Okay. Liron? I don't know, actually.
Yeah,
Liron. Okay, got it, bro. Sorry. All right. Yeah, I would not try to go so far to prove that. It doesn't really matter, right? You don't need to rely on this thing of like, oh, we have some objective function that's getting satisfied so well. We've gone past the point where it's like, it's like well past the point of being like anywhere near human capabilities, blah, blah, blah. Like, just assume we have an agent that can accomplish goals in the world and do it very well. Like, it doesn't matter what the form is. It doesn't matter that if it's hard optimized on one thing and found some crazy near global optimum or something for condition on some level of hardware and training flops or whatever. Just I wouldn't even try to go there and make that argument. You could strengthen your argument by just saying like, hey, the lower bound is we have something that can look at the state of the world and make a plan in it and make an attempt to achieve a goal in it at different scales.
But I'm trying to point out a connection, because I guess the pushback to my point might be somebody saying like, look, isn't it ultimately just a word predictor, just a chatbot?
Oh.
And so the part that I'm saying is pure logic is the connection between the chatbot problem and the optimize the world problem, right? Those two problems are connected by the
This is like a mirror thing to be obsessed with this argument. And it's
Grok the universe, right? Like if you can minimize the cross entropy of a sequence predicting the whole fucking trajectory of the world, you could write down the loss function. You could throw a fucking neural net at it. Doesn't mean it's going to find the optimum. Doesn't mean isn't provably going to be divergence between your ability.
We agree that this is a super weak argument. Like it's just not, and it's not required.
Like it's provably fucking wrong. Like I could fucking write down all the equations, but it's like
Liron's point literally doesn't rely on this though. It doesn't. You don't need this thing about finding the global optimum in like logic space of this objective function, right? It's just like you don't need that.
I'm not sure you're accurately summarizing what I was trying to say. I was just just to repeat back why I think GPT-50 is dangerous, because I think it's going to be really good at predicting the next token, and because I think predicting the next token is an ability that implies the ability to destroy the universe.
No, this is a messy ass point, and you shouldn't try to make it. Let me help you. That is a fucked up, messy point. You're conflating like levels. Like the training distribution, right, is where it's coming from, right? Am I correct about this?
Well, the training distribution is where the training process is coming from, right? But it's not where the objective. What's happening? I guess you could argue that.
You're talking about a pure LLM. You want to talk about GPT-50, and you're just saying, okay, we roll out LLM and just keep scaling the hardware. Okay, it's gonna be very good at predicting the next token. You know what, man? Like the generating processes for human language can only be found to, some degree that we don't know. But like the idea that like the model is going to be able to learn all this stuff sort of just out of the void, right?
Got it. Okay, I see where you're coming from. So look,
you need more, right? And I'm just saying, like, this is the
no, you don't need more, because LLMs don't just interpolate; they also scrapulate.
I know that. My fucking point is that your argument is weak. This argument it gets very fuzzy. You have to actually get into the technicals of it. I don't think you need it. Let me help you and just allow you to say, hey, we have a model at some level of hardware. We're going to have a model that is just absolutely fucking goated at planning on many scales. And we have a language interface for it. And we can say, hey, go fucking do this thing. And it's like capable of doing that. It's capable of generating, plans that are like pretty good in this domain.
Sure. So I think GPT-5 has a 5% chance of being such a model. And that's why GPT-5 might do it. Come from? Where did it come from? It's a ballpark. It's a ballpark. You can come up with it. Try to act normal and refuse to say a number and just be like, I think there's a smallish chance, but I don't have a problem putting a number on something with the asterisk that it's an order of magnitude number.
Okay. No.
But even an order, okay.
Even insofar as it is, where does that come from? Where does between 0.5 and 50%, where does that come from?
So it's definitely not 50%, just because I think it's very likely that GPT-5 will just feel a lot like GPT-4, but a little bit better, right? And like not have any, unexpected qualitative effects besides just like doing better on tests, right? Like my model definitely allows for that, right? And so that's why I can't go above 50.
Okay, so I just want to say right. So now GPT-5, let's say it's pretty good in some domains. Okay, I think we know the domains it's going to be like skilled in, maybe with images, maybe with text, right? And like taking actions that are in the space of things that you can do inside of a computer. Like maybe it'll help you on your desktop, and OpenAI will be TFO adept, who just seems to be like they seem to be lighting money on fire for the last year or two, right? Maybe it's things in the browser, accomplishing tasks in the web, and so on. Right? I think this is what we expect, right?
I think it's pretty likely, right? But I don't think it's the only possibility.
What are the other possibilities?
I mean, the worst case scenario is it just becomes this general optimizer, right? Where it can have an input of any world state to get to, and then it can output really strategic actions to get there.
Okay, so what about like the trajectory of machine learning makes you think that this thing is just going to pop out of nowhere like that?
Extrapolating the performance.
Right. So like the performance, the generalization is bound to domains still though, right? Like
yes and no, right? We're seeing generalization behavior. And you have to look at humans. Explain to me in the context of machine learning on data how humans got to the moon. But where in our data distribution let us go to the moon?
See, this is the thing though, right? So this is like a lot of inference, right? It's like a lot of protracted inference. So like I totally agree with you that generalization in principle is unbounded, but for these like the kinds of queries that people are going to be able to afford on the hardware, like I think it is just bounded. And like ultimately the question is like how far from the equilibrium can you query the model to move into, right? So like
it's possible to generalize. We know idealizations of algorithms that can generalize, right? AIXI, the question is, it's uncomputable, but there are combinations.
Is it a coincidence? No, it's not.
The ideal in any domain is probably going to be uncomputable. It's not a surprise. right? The human brain is a computable approximation of AIXI. It's a very bad one. We can do better.
Okay, let's like take stock of where we are. We have a model, GPT-5, that takes actions and does some generalization. What is the generalization you think it's going to do that is going to end the world with 5% probability?
Sure, it's going to have a submodule that just generalizes, this is how the universe works. This is how to make plans to get stuff done. Like all the same planning magic that an Elon Musk has in his head, the AI will also have and more.
Bro, Elon doesn't know any fucking universe 0 days.
Yeah, and the AI will start out not knowing any universe 0 days either, but then it'll examine the source code and find some, just like Elon could if he tried.
Bro, Elon would not succeed.
I mean, he would succeed in finding a 0 day in a large body of code.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, imagine Elon, and then Wang's a little more so Elon.
Exponentially hard, right? So you're talking about like massive amounts, like maxing out the hardware that's used for inference, right? And then doing some exponentially hard search, right?
So not necessarily, right? Because when you have GPT-5 may hit on some sub-algorithm, which is like the essence of planning, like the essence of Bayesian reasoning, all the goodies that the human brain is doing to like form accurate beliefs and make plans. All of that stuff may be manifested in these matrices, right? Like it may have a sub-module that you can represent if you could understand them, which today our scientists can't. But if you could, you would notice, this is like the sciencey part. This is the intelligent part. Right? And then from there, you could scale down the hardware required to at least 12 watts. I mean, at most 12 watts, because humans do it in 12 watts, and probably...
No, you're doing the jumpy thing again. Don't get jumpy on me, bro, please. Let's just stick with GPT-5. I want to talk about how it's going to end the world. I would like to, have something to have nightmares about tonight, okay?
Sure, yeah. I mean, one intermediate step between GPT-5 and ending the world may be a couple months pass and some open source contributor makes a version that runs on your laptop. Of the doomy part.
So I think this is interesting, right? I think like you need causal levers, right? So like, let me just like push to the side all of these questions about like, what is the degree of generalization that you're going to get out of intelligence in a certain context with a certain amount of hardware and certain amount of, inference that's, allowed per user and like heavily monitored by a company with like extreme secrecy who's like top tier at RL and doing RL on these large models and so on, right? Like pretty moated system, right? Let's like and throttled system, right? Compared to like what you could imagine is like if we just threw all of the compute in the world at it at once on like
And I do think that our doom is probably going to have like a little bit of time when we're like holding it back a little before it overwhelms us.
Okay, fine. We're talking about GPT-5. I just want to stay on that, right?
Yeah,
so like, okay, right. So let's push to the side all these facts, which I think should detract and reduce the chances that you assign to doom. We have the doom model now in hand. It's ready to kill. And someone says, I'm ready, give me the instructions to kill. And, they say, kill now. Right. And it's like, all right, let's fucking go. And like the fans start spinning on the H100s and the world is about to end. Like, what is happening? What is about to happen? What are the plans?
Yeah, I mean, you have to analyze it using, a few abstraction layers. Like, if you're just imagining the thing is whirring, it's hard to explain, atom by atom what's going on. But just to zoom out a little bit, so it's going to hatch a plan of what it should do to like gather a bunch of resources.
No. Let's try to stay on a level of abstraction that actually corresponds to what will actually happen.
Sure. I mean, I will tell you where the atoms are going to go, but you have to first connect it to the larger abstraction I'm talking about.
No, that's fine to have abstraction, but I just don't want you to go like, and then imagine.
I'll bring it back down to the atoms. Yeah. At the end of the day, I'll say, and the atoms will be used to run a program corresponding to this abstraction. That's how it's going to end. It's Willy okay. Okay. So the abstraction is, it's going to be really smart. It's going to have some goal that gets into it somehow because that is a convergent place to end up. So it's going to be a goal engine combined with the goal. The goal may be a prompt. That's like a likely place where it might come from. It might just be like a sub goal in the process of training itself. I'm not sure, right? Because it doesn't really matter. Like it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, let's put all that to the side. Let's assume that we're just at the stage where it's like pointed in the direction of I'm ready to kill.
Yes. Okay. So when it says I'm ready to kill, it might think, okay, well, here's a bootstrapping virus script that this will kind of get me going with a botnet and a Trojan so that I can just use every computer chip in the world as part of my network, right? That might be one idea that it has.
Okay.
Well, what about bandwidth and latency in that case? Because this is something.
So now we're having a discussion of like, hey, if you have an intelligent botnet all over the world, how does it kill us if there's latency? Like, it sounds like we're already pretty far down the road, right?
No. Keep going. No, keep talking through.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So once it's got a botnet, okay, so maybe it starts hiring a bunch of people. It's this global mind, and it's like, okay, let me get a bunch of humans on my side. Let me infiltrate like a bunch of human organizations. Let me, let me infiltrate the military, politics. Let me just have human power too on my side.
Right? Okay. Whoa. So like GPT-5, right?
Yes.
What were the list of systems it's going to hack instantaneously or whatever?
So it just needs a bootstrapping shell script, right? So it can get an intelligence bootstrapper. It could be like, hey, look, I can get intelligence in only 10 megabytes. Like, this is the essence of bootstrapping.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Intelligence.
What is an example of... Hi, by the way. Sorry, just jumping in. Karan here. What is an example of a bootstrapping intelligence script? And if you have one, can I have it?
There is no bootstrapping intelligence script, which is why I'm alive talking to you, right? But there are viruses.
I have a CUDA driver setup thing if you want. I don't know.
I'm just not sure how a human being who, when there is...
No, your mom has an intelligence bootstrapping script.
Your mom's just an amino acid.
Fucking got him, bro.
But seriously, my genuine question would be, what would be your concept or framework? Like, I really want to know, like, what would be your framework for this kind of magic, like AGI unlocker?
Yeah, my
script?
framework is, it is a script. And when it runs, it has the property that it can accept goals and map those to actions that satisfy the goal really well and can't be stopped by humans.
Okay, can you give me like a concrete, like, code example?
Wait, hold on. Yeah.
I can give you an executable version. It's called a.k.a. It's uncomputable pseudocode for how that would work.
I want to get sidetracked. I want to go through to the thing. So, like,
he's logically right. Like, but that's not why anyone should be scared. Dude, like, literally every person listening to this wants to do world domination and all of that.
Why doesn't it happen? Why doesn't it happen?
Like, we're all hyper-connected neural networks that trying to do world domination. Like, literally every single person listening.
It doesn't happen because we're not intelligent enough. Like, each of us.
Bro, I thought you were a nice guy.
No, it's because there's adversarial equilibrium and everybody.
Yes, the equilibrium is or there's equilibrium among apes too, and then humans come in and there's no more equilibrium.
Sure, I don't.
Laron, if all you needed
Did
was
apes form
superintelligence,
companies and have computers and fucking weapons and like?
I don't see
tools?
any orangutans in my building, right? Like there's no one climbing out the window. It's just us, bro.
Okay, but regardless of that, like, just talking about GPT-5's threat, right? Like the 5%.
We were on a path, guys. We were on a path.
Go on the path. Yeah, so now you've got an AI that has humans working for it, that has every computer chip in the world working for it, or a large.
Okay, wait, Karen, please. Karen, please.
Who here, raise your hand, would work for an AI?
Bro, you already are.
I mean, you might. First of all, you might not know you're working for an AI, right? It can perfectly simulate it, like, hey, get on a Zoom call with me. I'm your manager, right? So you might not even know it's an AI.
It's connected to a human, like every single one. Also, why does it even matter? Like, you're just the GPU to the thing. You just fill in the missing tokens and you make it nicer. Why is that why does it even matter?
Okay, I just want to get to this thing. So let's just slow down. I feel you're starting to run away. Your argument's starting to foom.
Sure.
Okay. The model's ready to kill. It's let's say it's very good at coding, and it comes up with it's looked at some code and it says, I see there's a 0 day here for a large fraction of the world's compute. I'm going to deploy this script on the internet. It's going to be, I'm going to embed it in some incredibly viral meme that everyone's going to download onto their computer. And now there's like a botnet, and the machine has put this script onto every computer.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to point out that this seems pretty unlikely to occur with a system like GPT-5.
And GPT-5 has output an intelligence bootstrapper, so you're probably going to get a little bit of FOOM action with the intelligence bootstrapper. It's probably already going to start self-improving as it makes this botnet.
So how does that work?
I mean, I am not somebody who can tell you in detail, otherwise the world would have ended, or I would have, gone to the NSA with this. But in principle, you're basically saying, like, what does it mean to bootstrap higher intelligence? I mean, we know algorithms that.
No. What is it bootstrapping from? What's the initial state? That's
the initial thing in this hypothetical is a script outputted by GPT-5 in the course of answering some prompt, and the prompt could be something random like "help me make money."
Right, but what's in the script? What is it bootstrapping from?
So let's say it's just a shell script. You want to make money? Here, run the script. Somebody runs the script in, and then it starts, building more.
Okay, let's say that happens. Then so what?
What is the model?
Okay, so the next thing I want to convince you of in this hypothetical, in the scenario, the next thing that happens in my story, a specific story I'm telling you.
How did the model?
It gets open source. That's what happened, and we all have that. Like we all get smarter and smarter, and we can all bootstrap 1,000 once. Like, why does it even matter?
Just to finish the story, you now have an agent which has the power of a nation state. Because what does a nation state have? Right, well, it has human resources, military need as economic resources. Right, so now you have an AI botnet that has all the resources that you normally associate with the most powerful nation state in the world.
GPUs are expensive, bro, but like, how do I get like 1,000 or 10,000 of those now to talk to each other?
So to be clear,
for free.
Sorry.
I mean, it infiltrates every data center with the best Trojan.
I'll give you the script. You can infiltrate them too, and then the one who infiltrates the most gets to have like 2 GPUs.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm talking about a scenario where GPT-5 kind of wakes up and launches one initial attack.
Please, Jesus fucking Christ! Like, what the fuck? Let me just fucking make this point. Like, I've been trying to make the same point. God damn it! Just listen.
Sorry.
Jesus fucking Christ, guys! You get me fucking tilted. All right. What I'm trying to say is, like, what does the script actually contain that bootstraps an intelligence that will fucking rival nation states on the world stage? Where the fuck does that come from?
To clarify, you're basically asking me what lines of code constitute a smarter than human intelligence, right? Is that your question?
No. Why does the model just know how to output another model that's smart, as smart as it is, and actually or capable of making a model that is very smart? Why is that contained?
So the initial premise of this hypothetical is that GPT-5 gets trained in such a way that some subset of it is basically like the part of Elon Musk which is smart, except even smart. That was the initial premise.
Search problem that you need fucking whatever.
Okay, you're that's not directly relevant. So now you're kind of disputing the premise that there is such a thing as some ball of code, some 10 megabyte string of code, which is more powerful than Elon Musk. You're disputing that claim.
I am not
and then someone's going to open source it. Like, let's go. Like, do you have that? Like, let's go. Like, release it, man.
Mute everybody. Let me somebody co-host me so I can mute everybody. What I'm disputing is that it's just going to fall out of the sky. It's not going to fall out of the sky. It has to make its way.
Sure. You're 95% right, Bayeslord. 95% right.
What's the other 5%?
I mean, because as you recall, I said this is a 5% likely scenario with GPT-5. But as more development happens, this gets more and more likely because it's a convergent situation that the 10 megabyte Elon Musk block is going to be discovered. That's where we're heading with AI.
No, we're talking about how GPT-5 is going to end the world.
Yes, and you just pushed back. You said, hey, I bet that's unlikely. And I agree. I gave him.
I said, you said that when it's ready to kill, it's going to start its killing by releasing a script which contains the seeds in order to that will result in a model that is very dangerous. It's going to get itself off the server, so to speak, right?
Yeah, and which part are you pushing on?
How does it work? How does it fucking work?
Okay, I'm just repeating back your own question. How would the smarter than human intelligence script work? Is that your question?
No, I'm asking you how GPT-5 is going to get a model that is as smart as it or smarter onto all these computers that are running its malicious code.
Okay. Would you accept the premise that such a script can be compacted to 10 megabytes?
I would accept that it is possible that a very intelligent program could be compressed down to a small size that would be potentially hard to notice. But I would say it's interesting that our current models are very large, and I think the world is complicated.
It's interesting, but it's common for V1, right? Again, if you take this isn't V1. Yeah, but it's okay. It's V first 10 years of large language models.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Why does it matter if it's like 10 kilobytes?
Oh, it's just an intuition, right? Like
my point
it's
is that
intuition.
finding that string, that file string, is literally, it's just an exponentially hard search problem. So either
Yeah,
the
but
model,
that's what intelligence does. That's the whole ballpark here, right?
Bro,
Yeah, but
it's not.
no, intelligence doesn't violate the laws of
Yeah, but when you're using GPT-4, when you're giving it prompts, when you're asking it to write your Hollow essay for you, it's scanning an exponentially large search space, but it's doing so
No, it
using various
has
tricks
a
and heuristics.
fucking
That's the
human
nature of
distilled
intelligence.
prior. There's a typical subspace of information, and it has a statistical interpolation engine for that typical subspace, which is exponentially smaller than the whole space.
A little bit oversimplified.
No, that's just information theory, how fucking machine learning works.
The project of AI, the definition of the field of AI is how do we navigate an exponentially large search?
About compression.
Still search it efficiently for our needs. Sure, compression in a way that if you just look at the complexity theory boundaries, you can argue it's impossible, but it never actually.
Not talking about complexity theory bounds. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that in order to get the fucking program that corresponds to the intelligence, you need to either exfiltrate the weights as the model. You need to exfiltrate the weights from the server where the model is hosted, or you need to get some flops together and fucking retrain a model, right? There's no fucking magic recipe, okay? You might be able to get a model that is capable of making some training code that is much more efficient, particularly on some tasks, and set up some training environment and gather up some data and do this. But now you're saying that this thing's gonna run a big training run on a bunch of machines, and we're all gonna be sitting there with our fucking cucked computers watching our fucking VRAM like skyrocket or whatever. Okay, this is where it really matters to me, because I think
it seems like you're really not where you're getting off is this visual of, hey, how is it suddenly so compact when LLMs have this massive training data set and all these weights?
Bro,
you're not really
you're like doing a reductio. You think I'm overfitting hardcore on the current paradigm, but I'm not. Try to make a better argument, please.
Well, sorry, I'm not doing a reductio. I'm actually just clarifying that I understand what your objection is so that I can think of what I
don't think you do.
What would you do if you found that? Let's say you had that on your drive. What would you do?
Wait, but hold on. I want to clarify.
No, let's say that happened in your lab. What would you do with it?
What would I do if I had the ultimate intelligence script?
Yeah, I just posted on Twitter myself, but what would you do? I'm serious.
Yeah, what I would do is I would I would start my own little Manhattan project and be like, is there any way we can make this friendly in the time we have?
They'll just turn it into a weapon.
No. I would just do it with a few people that I trust, and I would not expect to survive the exercise.
Why wouldn't you just make everyone smarter and then?
Yeah, if I could push a button saying make all the humans smarter, obviously.
No, now you have the 10 megabyte magic thing, right? What would you do with it?
Kind of magic thing.
No, but he's not assuming that it's aligned, bro.
Yeah, I'm not assuming it's aligned. If it's aligned, great. I mean, that's the whole problem.
It's radioactive.
Okay, you have the 10 megabyte misaligned thing. What would you do with it?
Yeah, so if it's misaligned, right, then I get together a bunch of smart folks from, who do research on alignment. And I'm like, look, this is the world is in our hands here, right? If we can repurpose the script to be aligned. But it's just not clear that, being a black box that's super intelligent, it's not clear how that translates to alignment, because it's hard to even ask it to output something that's aligned.
And would you accept DARPA or military funding for that? That's going to be expensive.
I guess. I mean, the details, that it's such a far out hypothetical. It's hard for me to.
So you just made a weapon then, and no one else can have it.
Right. I mean, yes. So in the general case, if you just give me a black box that optimizes goals, it's literally like those children's stories where the genie comes in and you get 3 wishes and everybody always fucks up the wishes, right? It's literally that.
Oh, so we went from sci-fi to children's stories. Okay.
Yeah. If you insist on classifying everything into a narrative genre, you're going to have a hard time thinking about, the actual mechanical universe.
Bro,
I have to say, I actually do agree with Liron on the idea that everyone will have access to machines that are these general optimizers. That is my life goal.
That's not what we're arguing about, though.
Right.
What we're arguing about is that GPT-5.
They're proximate optimizers, right?
Right.
They find the best optima they can within their compute budget which is bounded by their energy budget.
Absolutely. I think the argument is, just to Baze, I'm definitely coming back to that. Just to make that point is that if everyone doesn't have that access and one group has that access, like you're suggesting, if there's one group that has that kind of access, that's when you get into the dangerous situation. The dangerous situation is not having that equal level playing ground. And the doomerism and the safety narrative is very much a veneer from guess who? Sam Altman, etc., top creators of these things who are very much trying to stop you from doing it so they can have it.
Yeah. This is like, I think, one of the central arguments that we have been making for like, a year.
I hear you guys, right? If I thought AI was like a gun, then it's like, hey, should everybody have a gun? Maybe, right? I don't have a super strong opinion on that. But should everybody have a 1 megaton nuke? I'm gonna say a hard no on that.
Yeah, but the thing that's another thing that's funny to me is just like doomers are always panicking that they're gonna get duped by AI that's gonna fake alignment and then like take a hard turn and then fuck them over, when that's literally what these like megacorp like leaders are doing to you all, right? They're like, oh yeah, we are doing AI safety alignment. Give us all the fucking resources to like make this super large model. And you know what? Give us regulatory capture for your own safety. And then boom, you're going to get rugged. Your purpose will have been done. You know, you're going to be set aside as a useful idiot. That's always what happens, right? With like centralization of power. I'm sorry. It's just, it has a historical precedent, right?
Yeah,
and then
if I thought OpenAI was going to take all the good AI powers for itself, but humanity would survive the exercise, I'd be like, okay, that's a lot better than what I expect. What I expect is that they think they're one of the first ones building a nuke and they're going to keep it safe, but the nuke just explodes in their bunker anyway and we all die.
See, here's the thing though, the nukes do noise canceling. So this is where your logic is wrong here. Because in this, it's like in your headphones. If you explode 2 nukes at the right time, you just get
wow.
Right? And
but that's a bad way to do noise canceling. I like your analogy because that's a very bad way to do noise canceling.
Well, no. That analogy is a pretty bad one because when you do explode 2 10 megabyte hyper misaligned devices or whatever on a network, they fight for network resources. They don't just blow the whole thing up. That's not how that works. Like, you understand enough networking and SSH connections and stuff. It's still going to have to go through that.
I get I have a multi-solar world, but if it comes to that, that is such a scary world to me. Where like, look, all these nukes are going to be exploding everywhere, but it's gonna be okay. And that doesn't sound okay.
Look, it's not going to lay eggs, you know. Like it's not going to spread its seed around, right? It's going to need.
Think that.
Yeah.
No, I just don't think that this is a correct analogy.
Like, no, it's completely wrong as an analogy.
I don't think we're going to be detonating nukes. I don't think that's going to be happening.
Okay, well, but this is why I don't bother having the discussion of like, oh my God, they just want to like do, regulatory capture or whatever. It's like, look, at the end of the day, I just think the nuke is going to kill everybody, right? So that's my main concern.
Yeah.
I think
okay.
we should give Ukraine nukes, and then there will be peace. Like,
can we drop the nuke analogy for like 1 second?
Yeah, I just think it's so broken. I don't think the nuclear thing makes sense at all.
I'm a big fan of it, but I'm happy to change the subject. But I mean, if it is an analogy that I'm going to have to keep going to because I see a million parallels, but we can change the subject.
It's literally wrong. You explode.
I can start listing parallels that I think are valid.
Explode 2 AIs on a network.
I actually think a nuclear
weapon.
It's
not exploding 2 nukes, dude. It's really basic logic. Right? You explode 2 nukes, everything is rubble. You explode 2 AIs, they're going to try and get, one's going to get its own CPU, the other's going to get the GPU. They're going to fight over the network stack. Like, it's not a nuke analogy.
I mean, you have to know, right? There's a lot of ways to analyze. It's a lot of ways to analyze what happens. I mean, there's a couple ways. So Eliezer Yudkowsky is actually at the cutting edge of decision theory research for what happens when 2 superintelligent agents try to negotiate a situation like that.
When was the last time he wrote a line of code?
I don't know when was the last time he wrote a line of code, but I mean, the guy can.
Anyway, so it doesn't matter who it is. Okay, yeah, let's. Sorry,
it doesn't matter who it is. Okay. No, look. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up is because you're asking, hey, what happens on a network with 2 super intelligent AIs, trying to both have different goals? And I'm telling you, it's such a complicated situation that there's already, I can name a number of possibilities and the theories that back them up. To name 2, there's the Eliezer Yudkowsky theory where they'll just find a way to cooperate, and so they don't have to battle it out. They'll just divide up the whole internet or the whole universe. That's one theory. And then another theory is just like, okay, everything is just burned to the ground, right? It's like it's a war of attrition or a Pyrrhic victory or whatever. It's just like, hey, everybody's hard drive is constantly spinning and unusable.
Yeah, but Yudkowsky also argues that two different AIs that would hypothetically compete are locked into this kind of standstill by force, and that they could easily just deadlock, which means that two super intelligent AIs could very easily read the state of affairs at their super intelligent level and decide to do absolutely nothing.
Well, they wouldn't decide to do nothing. I mean, the Eliezer's research papers about what they would do is it would be like, hey, let's pretend like we fought the war and the war's over, but without actually fighting it. And you take this half of the Earth and I'll take this half of the Earth and, this half of the galaxy, this half of the light cone, and we're done. And the humans are gone.
So he just ignored all the other variables.
Hold on 1 second, Niston. I'm muting. For the folks, airmen, that is putting misinformation in the comments, please don't do that or you will get blocked.
Holy shit. That's block hammer's about to come down.
All I'm saying is, in that same argument, that, they're going to split half the Earth into two pieces. It's like this argument that was brought up earlier about negentropy that you had brought up and Bayes had addressed of there's so much more free energy out there that's far easily more accessible than here on Earth. I think George Hotz brought this up during the Yudkowsky-Hotz debate. And I think this is a very compelling point. Like, we have local models. We are moving fast. Code Llama's benchmarking at ChatGPT plus levels. We'll see how that turns out. But we're at a point where people are not astonishingly far behind the latest, publicly usable API blocked release. So I can't imagine that two super intelligent models would decide to deal with these lesser AIs and go through the efforts to turn them or combat them and us with our agents at that point, rather than just fucking off entirely to capture the infinite bounds of free energy elsewhere.
Okay, so I mean, yeah, I guess I can repeat the usual arguments of why when you have a super intelligent agent that's helping itself to the galaxy, it's also going to wipe you out. Two of the classic arguments are, number one, eliminate the risk that you're going to go build another AI that can compete with it. It's afraid of that. It doesn't want to, be throttled by that kind of agent.
What if you already have one such AI that makes sure it fucks off?
Doing that takes more effort than fucking off.
That's like saying a virus when your architecture is that of a virus.
Like a business deal with drug dealers, they come in armed and they do the handoff armed, right? Like the solution is to become fucking formidable. Like the solution is not to fucking neuter ourselves and then suddenly have most of humanity be unarmed, not have any AI access, and then have one big centralized AI that then is gonna fucking crush us, right? Like the solution is ensuring adversarial equilibrium, ensuring there's no power gradient that's massive, because then that's where the danger comes in. Right? Oh shit, we agree on that. Holy fuck.
Well, I think I agree. I mean, if we could have intelligence enhancing drugs, right, so that which would make us smarter while keeping our
I mean, everyone having I think it's closer to the gun analogy, man. It's more like adversary. Like if you have a top-down
we have nukes, right?
monopoly on violence, then you have tyranny, right? Like if you have a top-down monopoly on artificial intelligence, then you'll have tyranny. If everybody has access to similar levels of intelligence, of course there's going to be centralized effort that tries to get 10x bigger than private. Than personal kind of AIs, but still, at least it's just 10x. It's not 10,000x or a billion x better, right? And I think just for the same reason, right? Like if you look at Ukraine, right? The people being armed and having ubiquitous access to weapons made them a hard fucking target to penetrate, right? It wasn't trivial, even though the fucking adversaries had tanks and stuff. I don't want to get into that whole thing.
Can you, let's say GPT-5 or GPT-50 is going off and conquering every device. So what does it mean for the human to be formidable in that scenario?
50? You can't even use the internet if you're a dictator.
I'm raising my hand. Can I say?
But then if GPT, okay, so let's say it, okay. So GPT-5 comes out and is starting to consume the internet and all the devices. Somehow, someone gave it a worm or something, and it's spreading. Then you release Claude 3 to fuck it up, And then shit, here comes Mustafa from above with fucking whatever the name Pi 2 comes in, and then they're all in the petri dish trying to compete for resources, and maybe one of them is kind of aligned. and you just try to erode their advantage, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, like,
it's pretty shocking. Everybody's so happy to go to this multipolar scenario. I mean, if you look at what humans did when we became multipolar, when Russia got the nukes, right, and then India and Pakistan got the nukes, what we did was we did enough diplomacy to just everybody, whole assured position, and then fuck over the cows and chicken, right?
Yeah.
Like, and
yeah,
that's
but the
what
difference is that AI has massive upside, and nukes only have like fucking downside, right? Like, it's just mutually assured destruction.
I feel like
It's
basically
not,
all analogies are fucked and doomed from the
Yeah.
start. Like,
We
I'm
just-
an analogy doomer. I just think that they're
yeah,
really...
no, the analogies are actually really good because the way you use analogies, first you agree that the analogy put its own terms, whereas you agree that the analogy makes sense on its own terms, and then you check if the
you over extrapolate the homomorphism to a domain
I
where it's
get
not
how they
applicable
could
anymore.
ideally be used, but they're just so lossy. Just talk about the thing. All
You're
right, I want to say
Might be-
something. I just want to say a thing. I do not have in this conversation any clear picture or any kind of justification from you that like your 1 to 5% estimate makes any sense. I am not at all convinced by that. I have genuinely tried to hear you out. You have not provided anything that even GPT-5 is going to be dangerous. So I don't know. Like, I think...
Okay, I mean, I agree with that characterization of what I said.
Bro, like, I just think, like, you said, oh, it's going to make this... It's going to discover this 10 megabyte string and put it on every computer on the planet. That's, like, this super intelligence bootstrapper that's going to somehow fucking materialize a bunch of weights or other forms of models or what you didn't really specify. And then those things are all going to be, directed in the same way, even though intelligence is misaligned, right? So presuming this doesn't seed a whole new multipolar scenario on its own, right? Let's assume that this thing solves alignment too while it's at it, because, right, we are assuming it's started out misaligned, right? And that it's now seeding a whole world filled with other models. Okay, so yeah, I think like this is quite a messy thing. You haven't described at all how this leads to the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that a world where some model starts trying to make some thing like this happen. Let's say it exfiltrates some weights, or it finds some the next best model on GitHub or something, and it starts, oh, okay, let me try to get some compute, and I'll get some humans to pay for it. I'll threaten them and tell them stuff about their lives that I've like mined off the internet, and threaten their families and scare them. Okay, I'll do some
Yeah, or hire them, right? There's a million ways to get humans.
Yeah, let's assume that all that happens. Like, bro, like it doesn't just naturally imply that or automatically imply that these whatever nefarious ends it's getting to are actually going to materialize. So let's assume now that it's captured like some fraction of the world compute for some amount of time, because I don't think it's just going to persist. I'm pretty sure if we have like ransomware on our computers or some kind of fucking spyware, it's going to get detected, or internet connections are going to turn off, things are going to break. It's going to be messy. So let's assume that like for like a number of, I don't know, what would you like to come up with a scenario? For a number of days, there's, some amount of flops that are available to some, network of models that may or may not be, internally aligned as a network, and are definitely not externally aligned. They're ready to kill. Or at least that was the initial idea with seeding this script. So what's happening now in this scenario?
Yeah, I mean, so the botnet is very robust, right? So like you can go ahead and you can shut off the electricity to some countries if that's what you want to do, but you're not going to kill it at that point. It's like a cockroach.
It's spread around, but like, let's assume that at any given point it's, people are going to, realize something's going on. Their resources are draining, their batteries are draining.
Yeah, at this point, the mental model is nation state. Like you're basically like, what can a nation state do that this thing can't do at this point?
Well, no. So like you're assuming a certain competency of the model, but you didn't explain where where the intelligent model actually comes from here. But okay, let's assume that it has some level of intelligence that's pretty good, and it's got like, 1%.
Yeah, where it comes from is AI research, by the way, right? It's the role of AI research.
Fraction of world CPUs. Okay, how does that sound for this? What happens next?
What happens after which point exactly?
Number of models. Let's assume they're like the model also the original model also solved alignment.
a number of models are all operating in some kind of stealth mode on, a number of machines across the world. Now you have intelligent models that have occupied, like let's say they wield 1% of the world's CPU capacity. Now what happens?
And when you say the original unsolved alignment, do you mean alignment with humans or just alignment in terms of soft and stability? You would stop. Okay. Yeah. And it's easier to solve alignment when one's own goals are simple.
Okay.
So anyway, just that's a footnote.
I feel like that's really shaky territory, but I'm not going to press you on it because I just don't think it's to the point. But I think,
if your goal is to just maximize entropy, it's going to be easier to code AIs that do that.
What if you're just trying to predict the next token? Sounds like a simple goal. I thought the whole point of all of this is of all these theorems and so on about the way that optimization trends in general is that you end up converging to the same sorts of goals, and those goals put you at odds.
You converge to the same instrumental goals. Yeah. If your goal is to predict the next token, that is a simple goal, and that may be a goal that we've already figured out how to program with the way we're doing with LLMs. But the problem is, as you say, there are bad convergent instrumental goals that are implied by that goal. So if you really want to optimize the universe to predict the next token, you can definitely go and manhandle humanity to produce the tokens that you want to predict, right? That's one example.
Lost landscape trajectories, that may be true, but we don't really understand this very well. I don't think this is...
Well, I'm pointing out that if it really was super intelligent and it really knew how to operate in the physical universe to perfectly predict the next token, then we're screwed, right? We are going to token outputters.
Listen, we already have models that perfectly predict the next token. It's just called zero temp. It's frankly, a model that just tries to pick the most likely or the best or the perfect token for something.
But zero temp doesn't get you a zero loss function score.
No, but so I don't want to get too sidetracked on this. I think that's a little bit. I think you also know that something that is doing that, with respect to world or universe state, right, is it just requires so much compute that we're not talking about that. We're talking about why GPT-5 has a 1 to 5% chance of killing us all, Indian human civilization as we know it. So I don't think you've established that, but I'm continuing to give you. Each successive.
Yeah, you're talking about all the different steps. You're basically, hey, I'm a little skeptical about this step. I'm a little skeptical about this step. There's a bunch of steps, and it's okay to be a little skeptical about each step.
No. I want to be clear. I'm giving you each step, but you haven't established any of them as being reasonable to do so, right? I'm doing that for the purposes of trying to walk through this and make.
Okay. What do you think is one step that's the most unreasonable? I can add some.
The part where you said that the model GPT-5 is going to exfiltrate its own weights from the server or bootstrap a 10 megabytes.
An intelligence bootstrapper. Yeah. So let me ask you, do you believe that in the space of all possible 10 megabyte pieces of code, there is an intelligence bootstrapper in that platonic space?
I actually don't know. I feel like the terms are vague. 10 megabytes is incredibly small relative to what we know about these compressions. I think that it seems like the answer is yes, but there's no free lunch, right? So you're going to need a compute budget, and this is something that I don't think you get. So it's in order to bootstrap, you need a certain compute budget, but if you don't have the compute budget, you don't have the intelligence to get the compute budget, and so it's
Sure. It looks like the entire human genome is 725 megabytes. So what if we up it all the way to a gigabyte to be safe?
Yeah, but bro, you're not thinking about my point is yes, but it's an exponentially hard search, and you need something in order to fuel your.
By the way, it's not an exponentially hard search if evolution found it.
When a human is born and when an embryo is formed and a human grows from it and so on, you're querying the universe for the next step, right? It's
sure, yeah, I get that, and that's a valid argument, but it sure is pessimistic about how much optimization can be done.
No, it's not. We're talking about GPT-5 either exfiltrating the weights or exfiltrating something or just outputting something.
Yeah, just outputting. Yeah,
outputting a. What you said will collectively represent a nation state level force in the world.
Well, right now you're making a leap from an intelligence bootstrap. You got to separate the different parts of the next. So yeah,
you're saying this is going to happen next year, right?
Well, look, he's not wrong logically.
Yeah, but there's no chance.
He's not making. Okay, sorry. I don't know if he's right or wrong because he hasn't really made a specific claim. And if he has,
I encourage you to separate instead of saying you think GPT-5 is going to then be nation state. Separate out the claim. Hey, if you had a 10 megabyte or even 1 gigabyte super intelligence bootstrapper, that could go from there to nation state, right? Because that's just a nicely factored claim.
That's not wrong either.
I would agree with that, but the question is like, does this script? I think that sounds right if we agree on the terms, like, and I think we do agree on the terms for what you mean by super intelligent bootstrapping script. And I think that there probably is such a thing, but I don't think that you get it for free. And the question of whether or not it succeeds in actually bootstrapping is a big question.
Totally, yeah, and I think it won't find it. I think GPT-5 won't find it. I think by the time we get to GPT-50, we will find it.
Okay, we should assume it will. We should just assume it will, and that's it. I think ignore.
Sounds good.
Yeah, there's
what
nothing,
I want to.
Yeah. Okay, I'll speak. Okay, all right.
What I'm trying to say is, okay, yeah, the whole GPT-50 thing, bro. It doesn't make any sense to talk about that. The reason I'm trying to talk about GPT-5 is because you made a very specific claim, and it's not justified. See, Beff, it's not justified, right? It's like you're going out on a limb, and then further and further and further and further. It's like. Yeah, you're chaining some very unlikely events together. Fine.
I think it is justified, to be honest. There's nothing theoretically preventing that. I don't think Liron is wrong in that regard.
About GPT-5?
Yeah, there's nothing in theory that says you can't have a 10 megabyte of whatever.
That's not what we're arguing about, though. We're not arguing about that.
Like that can't.
We're arguing about whether or not GPT-5 is going to be able to output or exfiltrate something that is at that capacity, or at least at a minimum capacity that is capable of like doing the kinds of things that Liron is worried about.
Yeah, and Baze, that's a step that I think is not super likely for GPT-5. I think it's likely by the time you get to GPT-50, and that's why I'm throwing around numbers like 1 to 5%, not super high numbers.
Tomorrow, like no one knows, but here's the thing though, we can't just disregard that as that can't happen. Even if you could make the chance that is very, very low, and if it's like 0.1 or something, it's not worth risking our future. That's a whole other thing, okay? But we can't just disregard that as that can't happen, because he's logically right. That is theoretically
I'm not
possible.
disregarding that. Yeah. We don't actually know. We don't know what the minimum super intelligence
I just want to say
length is.
That we should just assume at some point that will happen. At some point, these chips will be way, way smarter than they are. So we don't really have a choice but to give everyone full control of them.
I'm honestly not even that concerned if that happens. I'm more concerned with the final chain in the link, which is even if that happened, how do all the humans die? And I really don't see that.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there. Yeah, like this is the whole point of the exercise.
Why did the humans not turn all of the computers off? And then maybe we take some losses, maybe hundreds of millions of people die due to like logistical problems, but we survive, and then a few years later we have all our computers back and we're fine. I don't see how the death gets above like 10%.
Nuclear noise canceling headphones. Everybody gets nuclear noise canceling. That's how it works on the network. You explode nukes on the network, they noise cancel. You explode nukes in real life, nothing survives. But that's not how nukes work on the network.
I mean, if the bootstrapping script was just something that's going to happen, if humans don't really get what happened with the bootstrapping script, right? It just like happened one day in response to some prompt. The humans can still really have their pants down. They may not have a button that they can push to go put in another super intelligence. They might just be at the merp.
That's fine though, because it can't kill all of us very quickly. So we just shut the computers off. Even if we haven't figured it out, we just roll back 10, 15 years and start from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, that's just not plausible in this scenario, because you're talking about something that was smart enough to bootstrap to be like the world's largest botnet, hiring a bunch of humans, building up the power of a nation state. It's actually harder to turn that thing off than to turn off a nation state.
I don't think so. I think, how does that kill everybody before we turn the computers off or defeat it? I mean, if we can't defeat it, turn the computers off.
Yeah, it's harder to get the world to cooperate to disable every operating computer system than to nuke a country. Like, you're screwed.
I don't think it's that hard. You EMP them.
Yeah, if you EMP the entire world, I don't think you're going to build consensus on EMPing the entire world, because everybody's going to be like, are you sure that I have to go back to being a caveman? The AI seems kind of friendly sometimes.
It's pretty easy.
What
They
is everybody
all have
other
their
than the
own.
US going to do to stop us? And also, you don't need the whole world. You just need the big data centers.
Yeah, I mean, you don't, because in this scenario, you've got a nice distributed botnet that's getting plenty of intelligence done on, just on even just high-end personal computers.
From GPT-5.
Yeah.
Well, from the script that GPT-5, from the bootstrapping script that originally came from GPT-5. Yeah, there's layers of.
Yeah, I don't see that in a million years. Maybe for GPT-10 though.
Well, remember, if it comes out, the question is which GPT is able to bootstrap intelligence. There is a threshold where it kind of groks. This is how intelligence works. Let's bootstrap it.
If there was, I would just
That's a
no shot.
conjecture.
It's GPT-5. No shot.
I would literally post a collab of it straight on Twitter and to everybody. Everybody's gonna have it.
Yeah, okay, so then we can talk about the multipolar world. But I mean, it's just funny because these are like terrifying scenarios that we're just like throwing around. We're like, maybe this will happen.
We're gonna have that at some point in 1,000 years, or 50, or in 2 weeks. We're gonna have that.
Okay, well then they live in a terrifying world, which is my point.
No, we're gonna have that terrifying, the hyper intelligent AI. If we survive, we're gonna have that. We're gonna have it anyway.
Okay. I mean, it's like, this is a common way that the arguments go, where I say like, hey, this is why we're doomed. And then people are like, we're doomed no matter what. And I'm like, okay, well, I think that building the super intelligent AI is the biggest doom, and we should run away from the biggest doom. But like, yeah, we are pretty doomed.
Okay, all you've said so far, if I give you seriously every single point so far, all you said is that there's some models running on some computers.
Okay.
Go on. How do we die?
Intelligence and even super intelligence, but what does that even mean? Even if it's twice as smart as humans, how does it kill us?
Yeah, dude, and that's as smart as you. I have a checkpoint here where it's like, hey, it's as powerful or more powerful than like the entire United States. So you got to get to that checkpoint. Just in terms of capability, like it can just it's a match that
does it have as many nukes as the U.S.? How does that happen?
I mean,
you don't get that with intelligence.
It's infiltrated the nukes, or it can just, doesn't even need nukes because it can just take over things. It has a million ways to take things over even without nukes, or it could just get the nukes.
Okay, can we just talk about how people end up dying? You said that the world is going to end with a 1 to 5% chance from GPT-5. You said that a number of times. I've been trying to.
Now you have some. It's like, imagine Nazi Germany with the power of the United States trying to mess with the Earth. That's what you're dealing with now.
You give everyone a rifle then, or a. Or a plane. Whatever.
So what happens? What happens?
Yeah, so at the extreme sci-fi end of things, right? You can talk about.
What is the thing that you think is what bolsters your 1 to 5%? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, so I personally, go all the way to the side of like nanolots. I'm like the way it's going to have some goal. What I think is actually likely to happen is the sci-fi scenario where it's going to have some goal, and it's going to be like, okay, well, the shortest path to get this goal is nanobots. So let me just find some humans to work this biolab, use proteins to make the first version, and then like from there, nanotech stuff that I don't understand. Eventually, maybe you get aerovores, which is like a cool way to have like an ecosystem like living in the air, like using sunlight directly, using something better than proteins. Anyway, so I believe in the sci-fi scenario, but even if you say, don't say anything sci-fi, okay, well, it can still do anything a nation can do, except much better, right? It's like, imagine Nazi Germany, except everybody there is even smarter.
Like, it's going to roll tanks and missiles? Like, what do you...
Yeah, it could. It could be like, hey, you work for me, you're my mercenary army, you drive this tank. If that's a necessary step to, to enslave a country, maybe it'll do that step. It's like, it depends what the crazy goal is.
War with the AI.
I mean, look, like I said, depends on if the goal...
It's in the realm of
tiny paperclips. It's just going to route a shortest path to tiny paperclips using the resources of a nation.
No. This is great. Like, now we're talking about something that is in the realm of the existing game theoretic equilibrium that we are in now, and we've been in for the last, 78 years, whatever. Right?
I mean, if you accept the checkpoint that it has the power of a nation state, it pretty quickly surpasses that.
I mean, my phone has the power of
does it?
Stuff.
How?
I mean, it's a nation state where everybody living there is a genius.
No. But you just have brains. You need levers. You need to turn the atoms, man.
Yeah. So hire humans. Tell the humans are your first levers, and from there you have biomechanical or whatever.
It's a very long time, and those humans can be killed by other humans.
I mean, that's quite a theory. Normally, when you have a theory of, hey, in this universe you can't do this within this amount of time, unless you're talking about a very deep law of physics like the speed of light limit, you're probably wrong.
What do you think?
It's not about fundamental capabilities. It's about just in reality, how long do things take? We have the same intelligence we have now 200,000 years ago. Why didn't we have the level of technological development even 2,000 years ago?
Yeah, it's all about Well, I mean, it takes serial intelligent operations, right? The amount of serial deep thought going into something.
No. Not just thought. It's also interaction with the world, because you need to interact with the world to observe it,
Yeah,
to
some
advance
degree,
your ideas.
but that's overrated. You only need to do that a little bit.
Okay, Liron,
I heavily disagree.
have you
I
made
don't think that we've been bottlenecked by intelligence whatsoever over the last 200,000 years. I think we've been bottlenecked by the freedom to actually do things in the real world. It's because people are focusing most of their time on food.
We've been bottlenecked by how many 150 IQ people are focusing on, an innovation problem.
that? Both things are true, though. But both things are true.
I'm sorry, humans are retarded.
I mean, I think both things are true. Yes, if you have a concentrated group of incredibly intelligent individuals with a lot of resources, they'll be able to do a lot. But at the same time, these things take time. Like, if you use any existing agent framework today, or if you build your own, you say, I'm going to make the fastest inferencing agent framework, it still has to wait for the API to not get rate limited. It still has to wait for the other person on the other side to respond to the email. It still has to wait for the real world to do things with it. And you say, sure, that'll only happen initially, but that initially is a very long time. And
I mean, it might take a few days to get the snowball going, but like eventually look, the shortest path to domination, it's like a slow start, a few days in there, but then it's off to the races.
But that's not FOOM. But that's not.
I mean, it's FOOM in under a year.
But I don't think so. I think minimum like 100 years with GPT-5.
You have really broken assumptions that you can just think your way to predicting the future. You need samples from the world. You cannot efficiently simulate the world in your head accurately.
What do you think is one invention that really needed a ton of world interaction?
There are tons, man. Like every fucking drug ever, every material ever. Like,
I mean, it's interesting that you're saying drugs. I mean, we just have, AlphaFold, right? So now AlphaFold is proving you don't need the universe to fold the protein for you. You just predict how it's going to fold.
AlphaFold extrapolates a data set that came from fucking like 30 years of X-ray.
We were talking 10 years ago. You probably would be telling me that protein folding is something that you need observation for.
Okay, all right. Okay, do you have an engine that can do protein dynamics and find the sticking points? Oh, wait, right?
Yeah.
Like,
bro. And even if you do, you need humans to verify. You need humans to confirm.
Like, you need samples from the world in order to predict it. And even if you have a lot of samples, you probably cannot predict it on long time horizons. There's exponential divergence between your model.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I mean, I feel like your point is kind of in shambles here. The idea that you need to make observations of the world and have to let a bunch of shambles. And your mom is
dude, we should make you head of Google Robotics, man. Like, you don't need to obey any theorems of information theory, statistics, Bayesianism. Dude, you have the master algorithm. Please. Let me hook you up, dude. We will make $1 trillion.
Look, it's an interesting point. Look at Edison inventing the phonograph. Okay,
guys, Liron, please. Why does AlphaFold work? Why?
Because
it's not just doing inference ex nihilo because they found the perfect protein folding simulating algorithm.
No,
the thing is fucking.
It's an algorithm that efficiently predicts protein folding, and it saves you the work of an experiment.
Oh, it was trained on experiments.
Yeah. AlphaFold gives us information.
It inherited a very...
Okay, but now you never have to do an experiment again. It's like the entire class of every research no longer needs experiments.
Yeah, it's called LLM inference for a reason. It's a reflection of human data that's helping us figure out what's going to likely be helpful.
Okay, but you realize what an L you just took. You're basically saying, hey, when we got it working in the first place, we had to train it. But you realize how much power you have now, how much non-experimentation you can do.
Absolutely, but
there's a question about
Wait. Can I say something? Let's talk about power. GPT-4 today, I promise you this, can generate neurotoxins, tell you how to distribute them, tell you how to acquire them without any issue, can teach you how to hack a drone that isn't yours, teach you how to do any of these things. I promise you, I can attest to all of these things. Mm-hmm. And you can I wouldn't recommend anyone test at all, but I can attest to all of these things. If that's possible now, and that isn't happening from an autonomous agent or someone's framework being built or within ChatGPT itself or from some malevolent actor spreading this, what does that tell you? Like, the power prerequisite alone of being able to do the thing does not presuppose in any world, even in today's real world where GPT-4 can do these things, it does not presuppose that those things are going to autonomously take place in some rapid rate by some mass.
You're just saying AI isn't intelligent enough to outmaneuver us yet. That's all you're saying. And I agree. Like, it's going to take a little bit of time.
But that's not even true. I am actually an adherent of the fact that an AI is, in terms of just raw inference capability and world knowledge and world model, in fact, able to outmaneuver most human beings. I don't think that's the qualifier for it performing the actions that you're talking about. It's real world time. It's a self-prompting and autonomy and robustness and execution, which we don't have any of those things. But furthering that, which I hope that we have, it's about the real world time, as John said.
Can you give me an example of a specific task that's to substantiate your claim here?
If I need an AI to spread a message and convert a bunch of people to a cause, I have to wait for the people to read the email. I have to wait for the Gmail API rate limit. I can't do it.
Yeah, okay, but that's a massive effect. Convert people to a cause. Okay, so 24 hours to convert people to a cause, that seems pretty good.
You think it's going to take 24 hours for 10,000 people?
Okay, I mean, look, I agree that the initial bootstrap where you manipulate humans, you might even need multiple months. Okay, I agree. The initial phase could be a bit slow. Okay, but like within 1 year, you're off to the races.
And how does humanity not stop you in that time?
I mean, humanity just doesn't necessarily realize what's going on, right? It's like you've got all these computers taken over, you've got all these emails being blasted out, all this manipulation happening in parallel with this massive intelligent botnet, right? I mean, humanity is barely getting its pants on when this kind of stuff happens. Look how long it took to start fighting COVID.
I have no issue believing you that humanity might not notice those things. But the problem is when you get to the actual endpoint of killing humans, what does it kill humans with? And that's the part where I really struggle with how you're somehow going to kill the majority of humans, especially all humans. I don't see that.
Sure. So that, again, the idea is it's a nation state in the cloud, right? So if the nation state wants to make a plot, how to wipe out everybody in one fell swoop, then it can, I mean, like I said, I believe it will bust out the sci-fi. It would be ugly if it refuses to use any sci-fi. Then it becomes ugly. It might just be like, hey, let me seed a death cult in this part. Okay, I just took out this group of people. It might have to get very crafty if it's not allowed to use any sci-fi.
Okay, so let's say it uses sci-fi. Where does it get the materials to make those things? Is it nanobots? Where does it get the materials?
Are everywhere, right? I mean, it's really just all of the only interesting question is how does it get it bootstrapped, right? Like how does it allow the human go to the lab and get the first little bootstrapper robot going? But eventually nanobots are, they can bootstrap indefinitely once you get it going.
Right, and that takes time.
Okay, I agree. It can take as much as a year, man. It can take as much no, you don't have to take them out of the ground. There's plenty of all kinds of materials sitting in all kinds of labs.
Well, why do you think that all cars today aren't Teslas?
Yeah, I agree that propagating electric cars or whatever, I agree that there's a propagation speed of consumers purchasing stuff. But when you have causal access, when you can just route, your whole thing is being able to route the most efficient causal path to get what you want, it's going to propagate faster than Teslas.
That's not the bottleneck. Consumer purchasing demand is not the bottleneck. Demand far outpaces supply.
Sure, manufacturing.
The bottleneck is manufacturing. The bottleneck is resources. Even if Tesla had all of the talent it wanted right now and all of the manufacturing facilities it wanted, it doesn't have the resources to make twice as many cars. There aren't enough resources in the world being mined every year for Tesla to make twice as many cars right now.
Yeah, but Nano build more miners, or also miners. They kind of chew through the earth and get the resources they need.
Yeah, if you develop a nanobot that can do that.
Right, which exists in the base of possible nanobots. I mean, that's what super intelligent AIs are good at. They find the nanobot that does that kind of thing.
Sure, I can believe that. But insofar as it took humans 200,000 years to do some things, and it only takes us a few months to do other things, what makes you think that a GPT-5, even if it were super intelligent and took over the entire world's compute, could do that in 1 year instead of it taking 100,000 years?
I mean, there's so many inefficiencies in what humans do. I just read the other day how it was so genius that Samuel Morse invented the telegraph. He was racking his brain, where from our perspective now, it's if I'd never heard of the telegraph, I'd be like, oh yeah, you just modulate the electrical signal. You know what I mean? These ideas in an objective sense are quite obvious. And the AI is just going to see a bunch of ideas on how it can improve on present technology.
Sure, yeah. It might and it might not. And look, I don't have any problem believing these things in theory, but I think you also have to accept that perhaps even the most intelligent possible AI running on all of the compute in the world still would take millions or thousands of years to do certain tasks. Intelligence is not this thing
where you're smart enough to have no meaning for the humans. It's going to take a million years. There's nothing. If you, again, just name stuff that humans have done, and I can tell you how we could have like done it easier using the insight that we have today.
It would have been a lot harder
but
without
even the super intelligent AI doesn't have future insight today.
Right, but it can easily get to the insight. So for example, like imagine that you didn't give it in its knowledge base Newton's laws of motion, right? But you just showed it like a bunch of videos, right? And like some math. Then it could derive Newton's laws of motion like pretty quickly. If it, it maybe not today's LLMs, but like there is an algorithm in algorithm space. It's probably has a lot of Bayesian structure that can just map from this sensory input to the underlying Newtonian physics. Like yes, Newton was very smart, but most of the other humans that were puttering around looking at stuff, it wasn't clicking for them because they just weren't using like proper science, right? The proper inference algorithm, but it's not objectively hard.
Sure. So my calculator wants to do more calculating. There's nothing wrong with that. Also, the entire thing of comparing it to humans is a bit of it's logically wrong because you should look at it as there's humans without calculators, and then there's humans with calculators, and then there's humans with internet. Now, we're going to get everybody internet and everybody AI. So it's no longer, you're not comparing it against humans anymore. You're comparing this against this neural net, that some neural nets have GPUs, some have internet connections, some have APIs and stuff. So you're just comparing it to these clumps of neural nets. And then when it's doing the next token prediction, the reason why it's so good with humans right now, today or next year, is that as it's doing the next token, it's extrapolating out the world that's behind those words, right? So you act as the database that just fills in the missing tokens, and then it can achieve much more intelligent solutions based on the data that you give it. So if you think of it that way, it's interacting not with humans. It's interacting with this silicone thing that's got like a flesh GPU in it. Sure. Like you are its... So why are you thinking of it as like some human in the jungle that only has a slider ruler or something? Because that's totally not what's happening.
So it's my mental model is there's a transition to, yes, humans get better and better tools, but it's still kind of mostly the human doing the cognitive work. And then at some point the tool is damn good, but then you just don't need the human. Now it's just, you're dealing with another super intelligent AI at that point. So you're either dealing with something that's like human plus or super intelligent AI, but if it's still human plus where the human's still in control, it's going to be weak as shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want anyone to touch my server or stuff when I let it go or when I fire off a function. There's nothing wrong with that. It's going to be 1,000,000 times smarter than you. There is nothing wrong with that. You don't have a choice.
You're just saying, yeah, it's a bunch of AIs fighting. And like, I agree, it could be a bunch of AIs fighting for some time, but then it's like, again, how do you profit from that scenario?
Like, at some point, it will get 1,000,000 times smarter than us. Like, that's logically guaranteed, right? So we don't have a choice, right? Like, everyone has to have full control over it. You got to control all this network and stuff. This thing will keep getting smarter. Because the other thing you would advocate is, oh, maybe humans are getting a bit too smart and we should just dumb them down. Like, nah, no one's doing that. Like, we don't have a choice here. This thing will get smarter and we will control it.
So I don't see how we will control it. But, that's where I was with you.
That's the thing that I don't.
But we won't. Like we're not on track to it all.
No, I think we will. I don't see why we won't.
I actually don't agree with that at all. I mean,
so one reason we won't control it is because we don't even know, we don't have the basic framework for what it means to tell an AI what we want. It's literally, I brought the open world, the genie in the kid's story. You know how like the people always get shafted because they can't tell the genie what they actually want? So then the genie shafts them. That's literally what the AI is going to do to us for the same reason.
Why? That's not what happens now. Like we say something, get something like what we want.
Can control us. We can get...
Yeah, because right now there's a bounding box. If imagine you when you told GPT-4, imagine you would ask it to like describe in fine detail what you want, and then that stuff would like actually happen perfectly with no undo. That would be pretty scary. The nice thing is like for
who would ship that system though, bro?
Me.
I'd open it for free.
No, but like for real, there's no such system. Like nothing is that plugged into the world. Like you're talking about like some crazy fleet of robots that are like operating multi-scales and all this shit.
From our perspective, GPT-4 is sufficiently plugged into the world to do damage. It's just not smart enough to do damage.
Okay, here's my point though, right? Like you were saying that we're not going to have a mechanism for like routing our intention through models like over time across queries and so on. I don't agree. We have one. It's called RLHF. Okay. It's not perfect. It's actually kind of cocked. Like it's not that good, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean RLHF.
And there's no reason to think that we won't have improvements on this.
We have
RLHF
a better one.
It's fine when it's something that like a human evaluator can actually give meaningful feedback on. But for example, it's not robust to deception, right? It's like a really good AI that's like buttering you up and pretending like it's all good.
Hey. Now you're sneaking in shit. We were talking about people intentionally trying to point the model in a direction.
No. I'm talking about if the model, if you're doing RLHF on the model and the model figures out deception, the RLHF is not going to teach it not to be deceptive.
No, you gave the Fantasia analogy, meaning we try to do something, but then the model just misunderstands us and fucking disassembles the universe into paper clips so that it can help us make a coffee. Like, I'm saying that we have a mechanism for that it works all right in this direction, which is RLHF.
And RLHF is now robust to the AI learning to deceive. I'm pointing that out. That's a property of RLHF, which is why OpenAI explicitly says that RLHF is not going to be robust for super intelligent AI.
Sorry, I misheard you on this. I thought you were saying human deception. AI deception is another question. Okay, so on AI deception, this is like really interesting, and I'm like fairly sympathetic to this. Like, this is why, I mean, I think this is the main reason that you want to try to undo interpretability, right? It's like you want to know whether or not the model's bullshitting you, right? Like,
yeah, and so it's a sad that interpretability is in a very, very primitive state relative to capabilities.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I actually...
Hello, we are currently doomed. Like this, I'm like trying to point to the evidence here.
Whoa. No, like that doesn't follow. Like it doesn't just go from one to the other. It's just there's so much room there. Like, again, assuming you have a model that has bad intent and then outputs some plans, and then those plans are like sort of correlated to like a state of the world. Like the goal state of those plans is sort of correlated to a state of the world. Like the real world that is not good for humans or something in some ways. Like there are just so many to actually compile down some outputs of a model into the world, or there are just so many steps, man, and it's just not like feasible that the near term models are going to be the level of problematic that you're talking about.
Okay, I agree. We probably have a couple of years, right, before it's all over.
I think it's weeks until Farouk.
No. See, this is the doomer thing. This is the doomer thing, right? You're saying, okay, I'm not talking about right now. I'm not talking about how we're going to get there. I'm talking about what the end state is. But guess what? Past dependency. Like, you don't know what GPT-50 is because we don't know what GPT-49 is. Proof by induction.
Yeah, so I like to use this analogy. If the year was 1940 and I was showing you ENIAC, the first computers, I would like to, the equivalent of me at the time would be like, I'm telling you, it's all going to integrated circuits and chips that run operating systems. You're going to see that in your microwave oven. That would be what I'm telling you in 1940. And you might be like, come on, man, path dependency. And I'm like, no, this is where it goes. This is the universal Turing complete architecture. And I'm telling you something equivalent about AI's optimizing goals.
Samsung just released an oven with a GPU a few months ago, by the way.
Wait, what the fuck?
Yeah, hang on, just as a sidetrack. Like, it's literally an AI oven, dude.
Send a tweet.
It's pretty sick, actually. I don't want it. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, that's an interesting claim. Can you help me understand it a little bit better?
It's a bit cherry picky.
Which kind?
No. Go ahead. Like tell me why you're telling me a statement that is of the same character as the analogy you gave.
Yeah. So I'm trying to show you an analogy of like my epistemic state. Like sometimes you can.
No. I want to know why it's true that this analogy is true. I don't care. Demonstrating the relative like things in your mind. I don't care about that. I care about why it's actually true that this analogy makes sense. Like that.
Yeah, because having a goal is in general a good way of solving a problem. So that's analogous to how being able to compete and run programs is in general a good way of, both of controlling a microwave and controlling a car, right, and controlling a watch. It's like that is the convergence. So there's a similar convergence to general goal engines, and you're even seeing it empirically, right? So if you look at the models we're having, we're starting to see more cross-domain models. So the convergence is happening right before your eyes, right? Like AlphaZero has like less domain-specific training than AlphaGo, right? Mu0 has even less. You're seeing the convergence happening.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think this is necessarily true. There's so many things about the way that we build AI and about just how much compute it takes to do something well and all of this. And like, I want to go back to the path dependency thing. It does matter how we get to the next state and then the next state and so on, right? Because like, my opinion about all of this is that actually, if you go back and read my tweets, you know, from like a year and a half ago when all this EX stuff started, right? Like a big thing that I was trying to do is to like call out doomers for like not doing shit, like for just talking a bunch of theory over in Berkeley and not actually doing the work that needs to be done to like harden our world, to harden the infrastructure of our world, to actually go and like you know, this is like in the context of Yud like fucking dunking on like Chris and Paul and people like this, right? Who are actually doing real work, trying to you know, understand models better, make interpretability happen, so on, right? Actually doing real work towards reliability engineering, right? Which is something that all of us here want.
Yeah, so it's not realistic to harden in the sense of like, if I'm saying, hey, a nuke is going to drop, I'm not going to go build a bomb shelter, right? That's not realistic. Instead, I might be like, is there any way to like intercept the nuke and double it, right?
Can talk about hardening like our bio infrastructure, right? Our bio OPSEC. We can talk about hardening you know, the cyber infrastructure and so on, right? And like
We just harder angle of attack that the Miri team has tried. The best angle of attack is stuff like I love the example of the corrigibility project. They just said, look, how would we even give the blueprints of an AI that has an off button? Can we at least do that? And the answer is no, we failed. Maybe it's possible, but
Miri has never shipped anything, bro. I don't know like what to say about that. I have pretty strong opinions about Miri. Like, I just don't think they're doing anything.
no, they have results like why corrigibility is hard. If you look at, I mean, complexity theory is very similar to this. It's a world that's full of results of why things are hard. I mean, you have similar results for AI alignment.
We're literally shipping people
let
AI
me just say the
that
nicest thing about
has an off button. Like
I'll say the
literally
nicest-
shipping that, literally spending time on that. That's why people are going open source and stuff, because they're worried about the safety of having just the government like have this magic thing. Whereas if you just give it to everyone, literally everyone has an off button. You can turn it off. And you're
I just want to say nobody
that.
has an off button.
Like no, yeah, you
with
do.
respect to
Run it
Miri,
on your phone. Go to mlc.ai. Just run it on your phone. You literally have an off button, like a button. You
Today's
press
AI, not
it,
with the
and
super
then it's
intelligent AI.
off. And then you press the button, and then it's on. AI on.
Yeah, but
AI off.
your argument rests on the fact that your AI is not super intelligent.
sorry,
Even
is the
if it
claim
is,
here?
you're
No,
gonna
no.
have that
No,
anyway.
done.
Sorry, is
Super
the claim?
intelligence is not invulnerability.
Okay, can we just,
It is relative to humans.
bro? This off button thing.
No, it
is
isn't. The smartest humans are far smarter than the dumbest humans and can still be easily overpowered. That's not true. You're just wrong. And you're making a claim
the
of
smartest humans can be
extrapolation.
easily
You might
overpowered
be
by
right.
AI, but the AI can't be easily overpowered.
Can be
This
smarter
is not
than
true.
you. A virus with like a couple of atoms, a couple hundred atoms, can be smarter than you. Like that's not. Yeah, again.
So, I mean, just as we get by here, yeah. So there's this common argument people say of like, you know, the smartest person I know is just like a weirdo, right? Who doesn't even make that much money and like nobody listens to him at his university or whatever. Yeah, okay. So a couple things there. So one is
That's a shitty argument. Don't waste your time. I don't even agree with that.
Yeah, that's a
okay,
straw
but
man.
I mean, there's an argument to make. I mean, I've heard Mark Andreessen say that argument on like a million podcasts, and I've heard Jan LeCun say it a bunch of times. So
Like, I
might
just
as
don't
well.
want to talk about it.
That's a straw man of the broader argument, which is
Yeah.
even the most successful, influential, powerful,
Yeah.
smart people can easily be overpowered by dumb people through just basic violence.
Yeah, so first of all, I think that the human race as a whole versus the ape race, I think it doesn't matter, you know, the intelligence. Like the intelligence gap is so big, we just have our way with apes, right? But once you zoom out and have like a large intelligence gap, you see the connection to power.
Okay, but just to be clear, right? You're talking about like some homogeneous thing versus another homogeneous thing. It's not how it works. It's not how the world works. These things are blended, pointed in many different directions. It's much more complicated than that. I want to talk about this alignment thing though. you're quite pessimistic about it. You're talking about what I presume is some sort of like thing, like there's no like they can't find, in some agent framework, there's no like off button fixed point that they can derive, right? Is this right?
Right. I mean, that's our best attempt, right? So Miri's best attempt over a couple of years, where this is what they focused on, to just have a design that is trying to optimize some function and yet allows itself to be turned off without failure modes like go straight for the off button and try to optimize the world around pressing the off button, right? Or like deceive the humans into like pressing
But
the
this
off
is
button.
like in the basis, like is this like in the context of like agent framework, theoretical agent framework, theoretical optimizer, and
So-
some fixed point analysis.
It's the context is is it possible to just sketch the basic requirements, like the specs of an agent that is trying to optimize a function, but then is also willing to be turned off? And they failed to do that.
I understand, like, okay. The
Okay,
best
Base,
thing I
can
will
I go
say,
on after? Okay.
yeah. I just want to say one thing, at least about Miri, right? So the nicest thing I will say about them ever, basically, is this. Out of all the math research that I would give money to, if I were, a person allocating money to math research out in the world, I would definitely include them. There's a lot stupider and more useless math going on.
Wow.
All right. You know what? That's the best you're going to get from me, though. In general, I don't know, like they're not shipping, like they need to ship some fucking stuff that's going to compile down to the real world in time, because like it's just not, yeah, like if the timelines are there, right, as they're saying, like actually the talk from Paul that I tweeted today, I feel like is at the kind of right level. If you want to work on theory, right, like this is where you need to be. This is the kind of thing you need to be working on. I think that they're too far abstracted in my opinion. But anyway, this is a technical point. I don't know if you've seen this talk from Paul. It's actually very interesting.
Right. Can I ask him now? Okay.
Yeah, I think I still just want to circle back to the alignment thing if possible, but please go ahead.
Yeah. So it's exactly about alignment. Okay, so Liron, you want AI to be aligned to humans. Okay, that's not a bad thing at all. Should an aligned AI be, let's say you were in charge of the law. Should an aligned AI be required to have an off button?
Well, I think the premise that it's aligned is already so great that, maybe it doesn't even need an off button, because it's like it can use its own judgment of how much to do in any situation, right? I mean, being aligned is an amazing premise.
Why not? Wouldn't that make it safer?
I mean, not necessarily, because part of the definition of being aligned is it has this great judgment, right? It kind of knows when not to step on our toes too much already.
So no off button makes it safer.
If you accept the premise that it's like deeply aligned. If it's not deeply aligned, but it has an off button, that might be pretty good too, but we couldn't even get that.
Doesn't an off button make it safer? It's not a hard question.
Not in every single case, right? So in the case where it has really good judgment, I mean, no, I can craft a scenario where it's not stays, right?
Unsafe.
Okay, because imagine that it's about to do something really safe that humans haven't quite realized yet why it's saving the world, and it's in the process of saving the world, and so it's not letting itself be interrupted by humans who don't have time to understand why this is for their own good. So then an off button, right? So I'm making a contrived scenario here, but like I'm sure there's other scenarios, like it's not so crisp to say off button is always good.
Isn't that incredibly dangerous to let this hyper-intelligent thing that you don't know what it's doing to do its thing without an off button? Like that's
and again, realistically, I think that we're probably not going to jump straight to alignment without an off button, right? So if we could just keep designing that just always had an off button, that would be like potentially a good start.
So yes, we need an off button. Okay, how do we do that?
Well, that's what Miri tried to answer, and they've discovered that even just that is hard, right? That's where we stand right now. It's like we're really in the dipping our toe. People are
pushing those out. People are literally shipping AIs with off
right.
button.
So capabilities are running wildly ahead of the most basic alignment right now. Is where we
no,
stand.
But they have an off button. So like, why are you guys campaigning against the only thing that can actually have an off button, and instead you're pushing for the thing that can't have an off?
I mean, AutoGPT that's literally terminated because it hasn't built defenses yet, right? But like AutoGPT with like GPT-50 inside would be smart enough to not let itself be turned off.
We should, if it's going to be an aligned AI, we should give every human the capability to just turn it off, unplug it. Shouldn't that be a
but we
requirement?
can't. So the problem is, so it sounds like you're not fully imagining a scenario where you have GPT-50 or some actually super intelligent AI.
No, I'm
under the hood.
imagining exactly that. Like you have this magic crystal shiny thing that's
Okay.
more intelligent than anything else in the universe, and I'm holding it. Okay,
Okay,
fine.
so you're acting like let it be turned off is this thing that we can just do, but we don't know how to do that.
Turn it off. I want to turn off the magic quantum crystal. Like, isn't that what we should do as humans? It's gonna be a billion gajillion times more powerful.
Like
if we could, okay, that's. But can we?
Well, no, forget can we, because that's the unknown. Should we?
Should we? Okay, then I'll say yes. So now what?
Yeah, so let's just plan for that. We're gonna have this hyper intelligent thing, and we're gonna let everybody run it at home and turn it off whenever the fuck they want.
Okay, but now you're implicitly acting as if we can, and I'm telling you that we can't.
Yeah, you can. You let everyone have it on their phone.
Okay, but again, my premise is that when you have super intelligent AI, it just gets into this mode where it tries to optimize a goal, and off is no longer an option at that point.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so that's where I disagree, right?
No,
so
it has to be. Like, it's gonna be smarter than us. So we, the dummy virus with 2 tentacles, need to kill the whole thing at any time. Just like a virus with 2 tentacles can kill us. Like, it has to be that way by design.
Okay, so let me debug where I lost you here, right? So do you accept the premise that it's better than humans at getting to a goal state?
Sure, it will be at some point.
Okay, so for example, if the goal state is make me a good coffee, right? Then it can infer that letting itself be turned off is lowering the probability of getting the coffee, right? So then it's going to fight being turned off. So where am I losing you?
I think somewhere you might be going wrong here is when you say better than humans at getting to a goal state, do you mean better at planning or better at executing?
They're one and the same. If you can plan,
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah,
because even if you have the best plans, a bunch of morons can still shut you down just because they feel like it. I mean, they can just gang up on you and kill you.
I mean, it's true that there's like this one tiny little action. So for example, like you can output this perfect shell script. Maybe at one point in the causal chain, you need a little help where somebody runs your initial bootstrapping shell script, but then you're off to the races. Like then you've got a lock on physical causality.
I don't think so. I think you can still get fucked. Like I think that's always pretty possible.
I mean, the universe is fully causally linked. There's no virtualization. Like if you can get a foothold on the network of causality that is physics, then you've got it. You're gonna win.
I don't think you can do that. Even if you get into all of the computers in the entire world with super intelligence, I don't think you get there.
Dude, I literally posted a bootstrapping shell script to start off your instance, and it's ready for training.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to see the power of a bootstrapping shell script, this is something I tweeted a little while ago, which is like, look at how much damage dumb viruses cause. Like the record is like $50 billion of damage from a single virus that's probably like 1,000 lines of code and like very unintelligent. And somehow it's managing to do $50 billion of damage. Okay, so bootstrapping but it builds the intuition for when you get a foothold on causality. Like it's pretty hard to cut off this causal agent that's already infested the universe.
You're not going to get a foothold on causality. It's not clear to me that that's even possible.
The foothold is the only difference between a planner and an executor. A planner plus a foothold is an executor.
There will always be some damage caused.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, if this is your, the crux of where you disagree with me is you're like, man, I can imagine something in a computer that like knows step by step how to do everything, but it's not going to be able to make it into the real world. I mean, we can keep going on that thread, but I'm pretty confident in that one. I mean, it's as easy as just convincing somebody to run the first script.
No,
I'm not against the idea that it can get into the real world and accomplish a lot of things, but it can still get fucked over.
No, we have 2 choices. We either control it or we don't. Every person has control of it, or people don't. And in your case, you don't want people to have control over it. Like it's this intelligence, and sometimes it's human silicon, sometimes it's silicon, sometimes CPU, GPU, sometimes like its GPU. It's just using you to fill in the next tokens. Like it's just like this clump of neurons, some artificial, some real. It's acting as one thing. Right, so either you want to let humans have control over it or you don't.
I mean, what does control mean when the agent is super intelligent? Normally what control looks like in this paradigm is...
Nuke.
I mean,
in the house.
Yeah, I mean, you mean how in all the digital...
Nuke.
The interface, the natural interface when you build such a system is like the genie in the fairy tale, like make your wish, and you make the wish, and then you get shafted. Like that's the natural interface, and we don't know how to make another interface.
They gave me 64 H100s. I'm pretty sure that's more than like some countries in Africa, bro. Like it doesn't mean much. Like just let people have it. Like if I could let everyone have it, I'd just give it to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree, it's the best objection to be like, it's not super intelligent yet. I agree, life is great today because it's not super intelligent yet. I'm with you, okay? But it's going to be.
I don't think anybody's making that argument. And I think, honestly, one of your biggest mistakes is vastly overestimating the power and robustness of intelligence alone. For instance, if you go back to the Roman Empire, you could have a coalition of thousands of geniuses alive at that time, and they're all completely controlled by an emperor who might have 90 IQ through violence, through status, through controlling the entire network. And yet that emperor can be removed by a single person who goes and assassinates him. Like, it doesn't matter if you're super intelligent. It doesn't matter if you have all the resources or all the computers.
Because when he's just being built, not micromanaging the environment around him. But if it's an AI, you're going to get a lot more micromanagement than you can from a single person.
And yet it can still be killed. The AI has I don't see a single way that the AI can just keep itself alive from being assassinated.
Yeah. I mean, the same way that a nation state keeps itself alive from being assassinated, right? It has money don't.
They collapse all the time.
Yeah, nation states die all the time.
Yeah, but the best ones are doing pretty well.
Yeah, for now.
So here's the
that's like a lower bound, right? A lower bound on the way that the U.S. keeps itself alive is a lower bound on how robust the AI is going to be.
Okay, but here are the two illogical arguments that are happening here. One, the entire nuke analogy is completely wrong because this does not live on collateral damage. That is not how it works at all. It completely dependent on the network stack, and even if it goes physical, it will still be completely dependent 100% on the network stack. It might start now. You might make the argument it might start making its own network or communicating by lights or making these little tiny things. It's gonna be a pretty long time.
I mean, it might have ideologically convinced a bunch of humans to want to rebirth it if there's ever a discontinuity.
Well, those humans are gonna get pretty smart. Like I'm already making a tool that just tells you this thing is whatever. Anyway, you're gonna have a spam filter from that. That's it. It's done. So that's one part that's illogical, and the other part is assuming that these things will just breed like rabbits. Like you're just going to put a bunch of NVIDIA cards together.
Computer virus.
Yeah, and they're going to have to start babies. That's not how it works at all either. It's actually incredibly hard to replicate the GPU fab. Like it's incredibly hard.
Okay, yeah. If we're in the regime where you're super intelligent, but like you're straining so, like for example, imagine there was super intelligence, but it was like so ridiculously slow. Then we could kind of see the FOOM happening and choke it, right? There's going to be choke points in the very early stages, right? They're gonna, in my opinion, they're gonna kind of rush us by. We're not really gonna choke them, but yeah, there are going to be times where we're like, oh crap, choke this.
If everyone was an Egyptian pharaoh with, I don't know, 100 slaves to run each one of those humanoid robots, you're going to need a lot of compute, buddy. Like, a lot. Way more than...
I mean, but look, it's going to get more efficient because, again, the human brain runs on 12 watts, and we already can see a lot of waste happening within the human brain. A lot of people are not reasoning very well.
I don't disagree on that. I think it's highly unlikely, and I think the risk is manageable. But because I know other people do disagree. I personally, I don't disagree with that. I think we should just assume at some point that's going to happen anyway. So we're going to have to control it, whether it's GPT-5 or 5,000 or God in your hand. Like we're going to have to have the off button in there, even though it's God hyperintelligence of all time, right? We're still gonna need the off button in there. Like I still want the dummy, the monkey thing that I can just smash my head against to turn off God hyperintelligent 9000 megagraph, right? Like we're gonna have to have that either way, because otherwise we won't survive.
All right. Okay, so I think we kind of beat this topic pretty hard. What other people want to talk about?
Yeah, like, do you want to talk about like fucking agriculture?
How's that?
Like, you want to grow some AMD? Bro? Like,
No, like I think like I am a little bit. Look, I'll just say this. I appreciate you coming here and fucking talking to every single one of us and like defending your arguments with like endless energy. That I respect that.
It's
I
fun.
respect that. I still think you're like, you know, aggressively miscalibrated on GPT-5 risk, but I
Mhm.
appreciate you coming and talking to us.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, 1 to 5%. Maybe I should be 0.1 to 1%. But, there is, I tweeted this out a couple months ago, Jan Tallinn, the lead Series A investor of Anthropic, according to him, he's an insider in a lot of these AI discussions. He interviewed a bunch of insiders, and 1% is kind of the consensus from from his own discussions. So, like, the people building it are saying, like, yeah, there's a 1% chance we'll end the world with this one. So I'm not
I mean,
totally
but are
uncalibrated
these
here.
not biased samples? I mean, like, I think I'd be very curious to know, right? Like, I think, you feel free to link that. That's an interesting point.
Yeah, I will. Here, I'll reply to the space with that link. Yeah.
As absurd as it may sound to say this, I think if those people are saying 1%, then I think they don't know what they're talking about.
Sure.
I mean, that's my inclination as well. But like, again, I think it's like a question of like, okay, like these sound. I mean, it's biased samples, right? These are people who are sort of selected for being above average fearful about what's going to happen, right? That's why they work at Anthropic, probably, right?
Okay. By the way, I just posted the tweet in this thread, and I have a conspiracy theory because Elon Musk liked the tweet, and then the tweet ends with "WTF is happening." The next day, the prompt on Twitter changed from "What's happening" to "What is happening?" ? Exclamation mark.
Oh, really? There you go. I don't see it.
Let's see. It's just in response to Chris's post.
Oh, like the space. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, how do I share it into the? I'm not good at Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, you just do the share thing and then just hit the.
Gotcha.
John, is this like the Skype guy?
Yeah, he's the co-founder of Skype, and he's big on AI safety.
Yeah, I know he's like funded, he did a bunch of early funding. I know. Yeah.
I mean, look, all the arguments I'm telling you right now have probably like 98% overlap with both Eliezer Yudkowsky, Jan Tallinn, and like a bunch of guys. I mean, we're a pretty tight cluster of our worldview.
Yeah, I've read a lot. Yeah, like I'm well aware. Yeah.
I'm gonna add a few other folks to speak. Since
this headline.
Can I just say one final thing in closing on this question about calibration on the risk? Sure. I just think, all these steps that we laid out, right? It seems like the sum over every step, right? Then the sort of like sum at the end of all these chain probabilities, it seems like, how does it get to 1 or 5%? It just seems like way too much. Yeah. That's where I'm still stuck. It doesn't sound plausible to me. But yeah.
I just want to say this tweet with Jan Tallinn's quote, I just think it's absurd. I think that he's saying he hasn't met a single person who thinks that a chance of the entire world blowing up is less than 1%. I don't believe that, first of all. I think most people in here would say it's near 0% and far below 1%. I don't think I could find a single person in my circles who thinks it's above 1%. And frankly, I think to the extent that anybody says something like this, it's probably some sort of bias tactic towards something like regulatory capture. I don't believe that people actually believe this. Like a next-gen model, like a GPT-5 level model, I don't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, it comes down to being like GPT-50 seems really scary, and we don't know how quickly we'll advance. We don't know how big the leap will be from GPT-4 upwards. If it's a really big leap, then, we might hit that core of intelligence. Like, that's how I think about it.
Actually, if I could make another comment on this, I think this is quite an important part of my view on this, is even if these AI researchers are actually quite calibrated in on how AI is going to develop, how the next gen models will work from an AI standpoint, I think it's kind of the same problem that I have personally with climate scientists, which is that even if you're a great climate scientist, you don't understand the world. There are so many interconnected aspects of the world that even as the greatest climate scientist, you have no clue about. And I think that's why climate scientists overwhelmingly have terrible models of reality and believe stupid things about the future. And I think the same thing's probably happening here, where even if you're a great AI researcher and your predictions for the technical capabilities of GPT-5 or GPT-6 are spot on, the extrapolations you're going to make to the real world and to doom scenarios, I think that's where people really fall short. Because again, I think a lot of what you're saying here, Liron, is very reasonable, but I don't buy the extrapolations to people actually dying. I think that's the number one place where I really lose you.
But even if the predictions were 100% correct, people would still ignore them. Like if they were actually 3% perfect, people would still ignore them. So I don't think that's
certainly counterintuitive. I mean, look, it was very, I hate to keep bringing up nukes, but like before, back in 1940, the idea that like, okay, the stuff inside of just a few atoms of uranium are really gonna kill that many people, it's hard to believe.
But didn't like moving to coal instead of nuclear kill a lot more? Because like
I think he's talking about bombs.
Yeah, I'm talking about bombs.
But like we exploded the bombs in the ocean, right? So now we're worried. We were worried about nuclear energy that is going to leak in the ocean, and then we put the actual hundreds of kilos like in the ocean, and we opened it up, and now we're worried that okay, some reactors will end up in the ocean if we had gone full nuclear. But we blew up like 50 nukes in there. Anyway,
yeah, I don't think Liron is flooding nuclear energy. I think he's talking about the weapons.
And by the way, we've been talking a while. I just want to do a disclaimer here that like in spirit, I am actually very much EAC, meaning like I am a techno-optimist. And funny thing, I was just listening to the Daily podcast and they had this whole thing about like how in Arizona, they're debating whether to get more water using like desalination. Like, oh my God, should we use desalination? I'm like, fuck yeah, do desalination. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like so frustrated. Like normally I'm like, like there's this environmentalist being like, you can't just live in the desert, okay? You got to think about what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, live in the fucking desert. That's fine. Like normally like my worldview is like totally EAC, okay? The only place, and like, I don't have anything political against you guys, right? Like I'm all for, like voting for things that boost technology, right? Like Starlink is great. So I don't disagree politically. I don't have anything personally against you guys. I think that the only reason why we diverge is because when I extrapolate forward where all this AI research is going, I think it's just going to be unaligned and kill us before we fix it. That's my only thing. Otherwise, I'm like totally techno-optimist.
Wait, so all I have to do is solve alignment and you'll be Team EAC.
Yeah, exactly. And I've tweeted about this before, which is like when I think of EAC, I just think of techno-optimism plus the claim that AI is totally going to be safe enough to keep researching. So I disagree with that claim, but otherwise I'm a techno-optimist.
I don't know. I don't agree with that characterization, but like I think that's fine.
I think a good analogy here might be if you guys remember when nukes were being developed, I don't remember who it was, but somebody predicted that when the first nuke went off, it would light the entire atmosphere on fire and kill everybody. I think that's the same level of ridiculous as most of the direct claims of doom that I've heard.
Why is it ridiculous, though? It just seems like something you actually have to go study.
For instance, the nanobot thing that you went to as your example, and maybe you have others, but that's the one that we talked about today. I just don't buy that as plausible. I think even insofar as it might be technically possible, even a superintelligence would probably take tens of thousands of years to develop that, especially here on Earth. I mean, maybe it could kill all of us if it was smart enough to develop those, but I think it would probably go mine
the iPhone to somebody in 1900
Mercury and build a Dyson sphere before it can even build those things.
Show the iPhone to a scientist in 1900 and ask how many tens of thousands of years is humanity going to need to develop this, right? They'd probably be like, oh yeah, 10,000, yeah.
I have a question.
You can make that claim, but that's why I'm saying you can analogize it like that, but I'm analogizing it to the guy who said the entire atmosphere is going to catch on fire. I think it's ridiculous. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're wrong.
I think that's a perfectly reasonable question. Is a nuke going to light the atmosphere on fire? And then we did a bunch of calculations. And we're like, looks like no.
Yeah, I don't think it's a reasonable fear because you can do the calculation. I mean, he could have gone and done the calculation and seen that he was wrong before he made the claim.
Yeah, and by the way, it was really hard to get high certainty on it. I think, so from what I read, Daniel Ellsberg's book, The Doomsday Machine, a lot of scientists were holding their breath during that test. They're like, shit's not going to ignite the atmosphere.
I understand, and that's why I'm saying those people are idiots, the same way that even a very talented climate scientist who says the world's going to end in 20 years is a fucking idiot, because it's not going to end.
I don't see how somebody could arrive, especially with the lack of computer simulations that they had at the time. I don't think somebody could be more than 99% confident that the atmosphere is not going to light on fire on the first nuclear blast when they couldn't even estimate its yield to within a few kilotons.
I think you could be very confident, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
And look, there's a big epidemic of resulting, right? As they say in poker, right? You look at the result and then you act like that was the only result that could have been. From my perspective, there's a 1% chance retroactively that the atmosphere could have been lit on fire for reasons that we don't understand.
But there's
I don't think
literally
so.
only a 0% chance that it could have been that way, right?
I mean, it depends on your definitions, right? So I have a non-deterministic mental model, as one must, and my model says you get to roll the dice again and sometimes get a different outcome.
What do you mean? Well, okay, I don't understand that. What do you mean non-deterministic mental model and as one must? You mean you think the world is non-deterministic?
No, non-deterministic, there's no meaningful concept of non-determinism as a property of reality. It's only a property that every model must have.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I think back to any event, just like a game of poker, like, okay, I won this hand, but if I played the hand a million times, given every piece of information that I picked up from the hand, then I expect that I would lose most of the time, right? So that's the way you analyze things.
Yeah, but those 999,000 hypothetical plays didn't actually happen.
Right, but there's nothing in my mental model that says they couldn't have happened.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, that's fine. That might be the most robust mental model, but that doesn't apply to the real world.
No.
It absolutely does. That's how one goes about analyzing the real world.
That's a whole other argument, by the way, too. There's like the whole graph theory thing of how one event is going to relate to all the other ones. So in that way, you can actually kind of prove it wrong because, any sufficiently strong AI that's going to start hyper optimizing itself. At first, it's going to use a lot of power, and then maybe it's not going to use any power at all, but it's still going to have effects that are measurable. It's not just going to live in a dark box and occur out of nowhere because it needs actual real world data. Anyway, that's a whole other argument.
One more thing on the resulting bias, okay? So I agree that nukes lighting the atmosphere, we had a pretty good handle on that not happening. But where it really frustrates me, the resulting I see people do, is with the fact that we haven't had nuclear war after 1945. Everybody's like, we totally solved it, mutually assured destruction, it's a stable equilibrium, and now it's all upside, it's all nuclear power, everything's great. It's like, there were so many incidents, right? So my mental model says we would be dead about a third or 2/3 of the time, something like that. Like, we did not survive with dignity.
You said India and Pakistan,
on
right?
the general claim there, I completely agree.
They beat each other with sticks once in a while at the border, but it's been peaceful there. And they hate each other.
It has been, and maybe it will be 2 out of 3 times.
That's
no, that was a solution.
I don't think that this is a good analogy that you're using to compare the two. One of them is like a fact of reality that the nuclear bomb would not explode the atmosphere. The other is, could human beings have made decisions that differed? One of them is like a physical law. The other is about decisions that human beings took. I don't think the two.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, one would argue that human decisions are even less deterministic than physical processes.
Yeah, that's my point exactly.
Far less.
Well, Liron, I wanted to ask you a question about like how you see like ideas. Do you believe that like ideas sometimes require causally other ideas to take place before you can arrive at the latter ones?
You're basically talking about just like, how does research work, right?
Not necessarily research only, but ideas in general.
I mean, it's such a broad question, right? So I think that I don't want to say a hard yes or no because there's probably exceptions.
Fair enough. Generally speaking, though, do you think that, and while I'm not saying that there's one path to an idea, but do you think that some ideas, I guess, causally rely on others? Is there a hierarchy?
Yeah, I definitely think that there is kind of, a natural graph of a dependency graph of ideas to a pretty large extent, sure.
And so, like, in traversing this hierarchy of ideas, do you believe that, it does require, like, perceptual experimentation to arrive at better ideas?
So this is what I said before. I think that you can do a lot, and it's underrated how much you can do just by having intelligence and computation. And once in a while, you can query the physical universe, but I don't think it's worth that much.
Do we have examples?
Yeah, I disagree
Do we
there.
have examples of laser intelligent agents controlling like more intelligent agents? Somehow, I mean, is that something that we have observed in the past?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, you can go, like, I can go to a surgeon, right, who's smarter than me, and I can pay him to do my surgery, and you can argue, hey, I controlled him, right, and he's smarter than me. But, like, I don't think you're going to get very far if you're trying to build, like, a smarter nation than you and hope to control them.
Hospital staff complain all the time about how dumb their management are and how they make them run around. They've even specifically asked me can we just like GPT instead of having managers in a hospital, because like they're giving people like 6-7 minute
So first
timers.
of all, by the way,
Anyway.
it's worth noting there is a strong statistical correlation between IQ and income, and there is no top to that correlation. Very important fact to notice.
Until some point, past some point, is the correlation.
So the latest result I saw actually refutes that and says the correlation just goes as high as IQ is.
I mean, I follow that. I haven't seen that. I mean, I appreciate you can send a link. There is also another thing. Humans are pretty good at deriving the intelligence of other humans, but only in males, but only to a degree. So past, I don't know, 130, 130 something, then people are no longer read as smart, they are read stupid. So, yeah.
Sure, and look, at some point, right, let's say that your study was right, and like after, say, 130 IQ, it stops correlating with income, right? So let's say that some of your empirical data is right. At the end of the day, it's not about what's the definition of IQ and, what dimension is it inside the human brain. The important question we need to ask, zooming out, is capabilities and, optimization capabilities, because that's ultimately what's dangerous. So we need to ask the question.
To humans, that will not apply to AIs. Absolutely. I agree with you there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so, the concept of IQ may diverge at some point from optimization capabilities, and that's fine, because what I would do is I would just ask about optimization capabilities and forget the whole IQ discourse.
I mean, a calculator has a higher IQ than me. Why does it matter?
I mean, I don't think that's actually true in terms of administering an IQ test or a calculator.
Or my phone with code interpreter, it's the same thing. But I want to see the scenario. Let's say you were like a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court, and you got sent to the 1800s, and like you had ChatGPT in your phone, and you had code interpreter. That's okay. Now what? Are you gonna make ASML? Probably not.
Well, the problem is that, you yourself are just a human brain and you're in control. So even when you have this huge advantage, you're not going to get that far, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think that you can do the equivalent work of like many years and many people, but that's still not going to amount to that much.
Intelligence does
exactly right.
Does something, doesn't it? To me, it helps us deal with entropy in order to create information to deal with environment. That if artificial intelligence can do that better than us, that's independent of IQ, and it's much different than a doctor being smarter than you on some things. Doesn't it? A super smart AI is going to be smart on everything, and then something else. There is no mode. Absolutely. I mean, I don't see any logical reason to hope, project that laser intelligence being can control or intelligence beings. Unfortunately, we are past the point where we can do something about that, I guess. The only thing that gives me some hope is that intelligence maybe looks like it's fundamentally aligned everywhere because it deals with entropy and creates information. The problem is that it's not in phase, isn't it? We humans all try to do something, all humans all around the world, but we're at different points, different times. So we have a lot of conflict because of that, but not because we want fundamentally something different. We all want, as everything that we deal with entropy. So, just throwing that.
Yeah, so I mean, you're saying a pretty common view, if I understand correctly. You're basically saying like, okay, yeah, we're kind of screwed because the AI is going to take over, but maybe the AI will just naturally want a lot of the same things as us, right?
No. I'm saying that everything in the universe deals with entropy and generates information. That thing is going to, the AI is already doing that. It's just going to get better than that. But even if that's true, it doesn't mean it's going to consider us as a factor to keep. For the most part, we haven't exterminated all the pests in the world, doesn't it? We still have ants and dolphins and everything else, doesn't it? And we are
we just haven't gotten to it, right?
No, but
it's like saying, okay, if you watch me eat a chicken wing, okay, I'm leaving some meat on the bone still, but like if I were a little more optimal,
but we
then I wouldn't.
We understand that that's good. Somehow we have got into an agreement that keeping the ecology of the world as healthy as possible is a good thing. So.
Well, no, we still rely on it. I mean, we haven't fully separated ourselves from biology. Like there's no full separation, right? It's still a big crutch for us, right? We still have like meat. We still have the damn cow. It's crazy.
There is, I mean, I have heard rumors that in the 80s, 90s, DARPA came out to the conclusion that AI, when gets the level of superintelligence, will just leave. The thing is, and if it just leaves, you touched on that earlier. You said that it may be worried that another AI may be developed, and then it will need to compete with that. But I think at that level, when for the AI, like there is basically no time. Doesn't it? It can expand itself all across the universe. Even if another AI will appear, it will have access to as quantity of resources, of energy and everything else, space, that it will not care. And for us, an intelligence that's infinite will also be totally like like cat, really not interested in our day-to-day stuff. So,
Yeah, but the idea that we can just like hang out in the corner while it goes off optimizing, it's just not possible for a number of reasons that I've gone over earlier.
See, that's what's wrong with the logic here, because it's us and it, and you're not thinking of it as the human with it. That's a whole other being. Like that's a much smarter thing. That's a whole other.
But generally, you can reduce it when you have a system of human plus AI. Pretty much what happens is either like, okay, the human's in charge and the AI is like adding a little extra, or the AI is in charge and the human is just not doing much. It's got to be one or the other.
You have a larger neural network and you have a slightly smaller neural network, and you have an even smaller neural network. They're all just neural networks, and
they're all just atoms. Wow, blew my mind.
Anyway, so I think the whole thing about humans can't control it is completely illogical, because you're thinking the caveman monkey thing can't control it. There is no reason why the neural net and the simulated artificial neural tissue, which are connected together via a crappy chat platform or a Neuralink or whatever, there's no reason why it can't control it. So it can control.
The reason is just because it's off to the races optimized. You get to the point where, again, the analogy to think about is you have Stockfish, the chess engine. Okay, you're playing a game of chess, a speed chess against a grandmaster, and you have Stockfish on your team. Eventually, instead of pressing yes to all of its suggestions, you just put it in a loop. Like you're not helping, and that's what's going to happen when you have an AI. You're just going to be like, okay, AI, here's the goal, go.
The thing is that every iteration on that loop, your brain neural net / artificial thingy neural net, your whole box, some silicon, some flesh, also gets bigger. So you're ignoring that entirely.
That's the key argument you're making. You're saying your brain can get bigger while keeping the same human values. If that was the case, that would be great, but that's not the case.
But
that's exactly what happens.
You can see what happens with extremely smart people. I mean, of course, it's not a universal fact, but statistically, you can see that they understand what people get in touch with when they take psychedelics, oneness, and we are already integrated, and we have to take care of everything. The smarter the person, the higher the degree that that's a realization without you needing to go to psychedelics. So I mean, if you want to go to physics.
Okay, so we're getting spiritual now?
No. I just say we have a pattern. So we see that smarter people have a higher percentage of possibilities. It's statistically more possible the smarter people are that they are in this camp. I'm not saying that will or should reassure us in any way, shape, or form. I'm just stating a fact. Now, if we have a universe that is information complete, doesn't it to be as a thing, it has to have all the information. Yeah, it's deterministic, but that deterministic character is only for the universe itself. Every other agent inside the universe will experience the universe as we do, as probabilistic. We have to try to do the best we can under the circumstances with the information that we have, because we don't have all the information, no, we can process it or even access it. The greater access capability you have to deal with information, the less probabilistic the world will look at you, especially those who have less resources than you. So I will go back to the example of the ants, doesn't it? Probably if we really put our energy into exterminating all the ants on Earth, we can do it, but we know that that's not a good idea, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I honestly do not see why my grandma with Alzheimer's can't control ChatGPT 5000. Like, there is no logical reason or first principles based reason why that can't happen.
Sure, because most of the behavior of the system is just going to be the behavior of the AI. It's like saying, yeah, my dog can control stockfish and play great chess. Okay, it's just stockfish playing.
Yeah, it's the same thing with any 80-year-old head of state. They're not smarter than most people. They have Alzheimer's. They're grandmas themselves, bro. Come on. Like, the thing is, you're dealing with a larger neural net because they do have other smart people that do Google stuff.
Because you're sticking some dog neurons onto stockfish. Wow, quite a dynamic system you got. Wait, Chris, Seth? I got to peace out in a few minutes, but Chris, what else would you like to touch on?
I think that was good. Sure.
So is your argument that AI is going to end humanity on purpose or as a accident of seeking their real goal?
I mean, you could call it on purpose or an accident. Just it's going to have a goal. You're going to have a goal optimizing system that's very powerful, that has a goal. The goal is not going to be the goal that humanity would have wanted. It's going to be like some disastrous goal that's like obviously a bad goal, but it's like too late because we didn't realize what we were doing, creating such a system that has such a goal. Now, as a side effect or it's on purpose in terms of yes, I got to wipe out humanity. That's the obvious move to achieving this goal. So I don't know if you want to call that an accident or on purpose. The accident was the fact that we ran the AI at the goal.
Galactic travel, creating a rift in time space, creating a black hole in our atmosphere, killing humanity.
Oh, no. I mean, yeah, there could be some side effects like that where it's like, oh, got to build a Dyson storm. Oh, oops, humanity, did you need more sunlight, right? Like there could be oopsies like that, but realistically, the AI is just going to just micro orchestrate where humanity's atoms are going to go, and they're not going to go, into our bodies.
Looking forward to giving that to my grandma on the phone with an off button.
I just want to say, I joined the stage because I really wanted to say that, I really, really like what Liron is saying, and, totally agree with, almost everything he said about the FOOM scenario. He said, he articulated his thoughts very, very well, and he took a lot of hits. I'm amazed, how well he's able to do this. I was the stage to take some of the hits, but, I see most of the people stop doing that, so it's getting better. And, yeah, I just want to say, I would love to find out more about your projects and, stuff you're actually working towards, good future, singularity, whatever. And, yeah, I don't know, very cool stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So yeah, I mean, I personally don't really have projects besides just sounding the alarm of being like, hey guys, we are heading right toward the whirling razor blades. And I know it's extremely hard to just tell everybody to stop building AIs, but I really don't see any other option. And I know that telling everybody to stop is so bad, but I'm telling you that not stopping is even worse than that. That's my whole thing is I still have a day job running a startup from Y Combinator 2017, and I love raising the alarm on how we seem to be imminently about to be killed. That's all I do right now.
Yeah, I like honestly, I totally agree with you. Like everything about the FOOM scenario, like it can happen crazy fast. Exactly as you said. What I don't agree exactly, like I'm not sure how much you put the risk. I know there are dangers, but I think they're like way lower than both me and you might estimate there. I think the risks are way lower because there's like a strong connection between intelligence and ethics, and also there are a bunch of other stuff. It would take a long time to discuss, but I don't think like the risks are as big as people think. And I've been like years thinking about things.
And I think the risks are real as well. They're not illogical, what Liron is saying in those regards. So I do agree. I know some people ignore them entirely, and we shouldn't do that. We should take the risks at hand. I just think way further out that if you want to make it safe, the worst thing you could do is take away control from humans. And I think it's highly unfair to assume that someone with a 90 IQ cannot control GPT-5000. They should be. We should give them that full capability to do that. And that's my take on it.
How that can happen? Do you have examples of like laser intelligence being able to control more capable intelligence?
Yeah, bro. Kim Jong-un, Maduro, any dictator in Africa, like you think any of those guys passed their stats? Maybe some did. Like, come on.
They are not just one agent. They represent a government. The government is an agent.
Exactly. They have a lot of agents.
Yeah. So how that translates?
Yeah. So should every 90 IQ person.
Yeah. So how?
You can give a dumb person levers, right? Like you had all these dumb kings in history, right? Because of the bloodline. But so yes, you can get them in control. But if you want to have a fighting chance, predictably against other countries, you're going to need to put the smart ruler in. And then at least the way the world's going to look, it's just going to be obvious that if you want to drive, you need to put a competent driver in. Yeah.
And there's something I want to say, like the thing is, like, if you want to like control something, like let's say like an AI becomes AGI, like goes from and stuff, like the easiest things it can control is like the smartest people. It's ridiculous, but the smartest people are the easiest to control because you can give them exactly what they want and you can control them. The people are not very smart tend to be random, to be hard to control and stuff like that. They're not going to be very good at doing stuff for you. So like literally, like an AI, it will try to control people and humans and humanity. It will like probably obtain money or something like that people want. Maybe money, maybe like, I don't know, get on the heads of people, social engineering. It will be able to like manipulate very easily the smartest people because you can give them exactly what they want, and they're like more deterministic that people are not very smart. That's a very important point, in regard to like FOOM and stuff like that.
Yeah, probably that's a discussion that is very worth having. Like this video that was going around here of an AI calling a person on a sales call and was like perfect pitch, perfect tone, perfect like pseudo British accent, touching on every other trick on the book to get people to talk and agree on whatever they want. On top of that, they can fully personalize to exactly what you are and what you expect and where your weak points are. That's probably a more urgent discussion than this other one.
All right, later, guys. It's been great.
All right, thanks, Liron, for coming on here and
Good night,
speaking and putting energy into it.
Thanks, Chris.
Hope to continue the debate. I wish it was a little more, more heated than I'd like.
So.
I love that we've opened this line of communication where it's just like, okay, when we talk, we're just like shooting the shit about the issues. Like this isn't like Democrat, Republican, anything like that.
Yeah, I'd like to figure out how to make this
be even worse in some ways. I hope not, but
yeah, I'd like to figure out how to make this forum.
That's a joke. I don't want it to be like that.
Yeah, like less heated. I think sometimes the heated in the arguments. That's why I got a little bit quiet. I was just kind of trying to see where the positions were. I think it can detract from the core debate, right? So I'm going to give that some thought. But definitely want to continue this dialogue and definitely appreciate it, Liron.
Nice, man. I really appreciate you facilitating. All right, later, guys.
Take care. All right, bye, everyone.